begin. I understand the flowers are starting to come down.
Minute or 27. What time is it? Who's sitting there? Oh, I'm gonna sit there.
Okay, we're going to begin. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our February regular Board of Education meeting. We're very excited to be here at the Ratner Elementary School. At this time, I would ask everybody to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Thank you. At this time, I would like to turn the microphone over to Mr. Bridgman, who is going to announce our new athletic director.
If you were thinking I was going to mention anything about school opening tomorrow morning, I'm sorry to disappoint you. The board and administration is very pleased to announce and to introduce our school district to our new athletic director, Brett Kornblum. Brett, if you could stand up. Process and a very exhausting day. Brett made it through the entire day and the evening and has wowed all the constituents that had an opportunity to meet with him. He comes with a really broad base of experience and we are so happy to welcome him to the Jericho family effective July 1st. He's got a hard act to follow, but what I love is that in February he will have a lot of time to spend with John in learning Jericho, which takes more than a little bit of time. So with that, I'd like to recommend to the board that we adopt the schedule appointing Brett Kornblum to our athletic director position effective July 1st, 2025.
Do I have a motion on the appointment of Mr. Brett Kornblum? Jen, second? Jill? Discussion? All in favor? Unanimously carried. Thank you. Mr. Kornblum, welcome to the Jericho family. We're excited to see all the wonderful things you're going to bring. Congratulations. Thank you.
And it's snowing, so you can leave now.
All right.
He had a very long day.
Okay, moving on. We're going to move on to the approval of the minutes. Can everybody hear me clearly? I feel like it's not that loud. Recommended actions, approval of minutes, recommended motion. Be it resolved that the Board of Education make any necessary corrections and move the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting dated January 23rd, 2025. Do I have a motion? Jay, second? Jill? Discussion? All in favor? So carried. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move into reports and discussion in the interest of the Ratner Elementary School updates. I'd like to move that to number 1. So with that, I'd like to introduce Ms. Joanna Kletter. Thanks very much.
So thank you to our central administration and our Board of Education for the opportunity to talk a little bit about our school and show off a little bit. I want to start by thanking our teachers and staff who are here and been here throughout the evening for the curriculum fairs. Thank you so much. Our custodial team who does a fantastic job making this place turn upside down and all around to look at the different places all over. So thank you to our families as well for being here. We appreciate all of your support. And our peer leader advisors, Ms. Kermani and Ms. Kane, are here with some of our peer leaders and our site-based team. And we let Ms. Wilfeder go home because she worked her tail off to train. The people up here can tell you what our conference room looks like. It is an amazing transformation to go along with our theme. And all of our students will have a chance to check it out tomorrow. Make sure they wrap their way through it. She did a fantastic job, as always, bringing our theme to life. So I'm going to introduce our students who are going to help me with our presentation this evening. They're going to give you a little wave and come on up and line up behind me so they can help me out. So I'm going to invite up Leo, June, Zachary, Sarah. What happened to your wave? You're supposed to wave. Wave and smile. Wave and smile. Jalen, Lukesh, Emma, and Iman. So let's give them a round of applause. As they come up. All right, so this year's theme is Dare to Dream, and I was inspired by the movie The Greatest Showman and a song called A Million Dreams. As a child, the main character has visions of the future. His ideas are grand, they are fantastical, and they are limitless. Actually, I didn't give you guys a chance. You want to move your seats in case you want to see the
Absolutely,
presentation?
that'd be great, thank you.
I just realized we worked on this presentation and you can't
I
see
was
it.
just gonna ask you, but I didn't want to interrupt.
Sorry about that, thank you. All right, so back to our theme. So in the movie The Greatest Showman, the main character as a child has visions of his future. And his ideas are grand, they're fantastical, and they are absolutely limitless. As educators and as parents, I think we all hope to nourish our children's minds and their personalities to have big dreams and a commitment to fulfilling their goals. Around the room and around the table up here are some of the dreams that our parents have for their children. So our parents' dreams for their children include them finding balance, having happiness, and while working hard, reaching their goals. They want their children to feel fulfilled and to feel connected. I hope you'll take some time, either this evening before you leave, it might be tough, or we'll find another place to display them, but each of these slips is a note from a parent to their child. And some of them are in English, and some of them are in other languages that are spoken within their homes. And they are quite beautiful and sentimental and really reach the heart of their children. The way the dreams are displayed around the room was inspired by The Gates, an exhibit in Central Park in 2005. Some interpretations of that exhibit saw them as an invitation to visitors to cross the threshold into Central Park and become part of something amazing. I like to think that our students feel invited to cross the threshold into our school each day and become part of something amazing. So I asked our 8 friends behind us, I asked them, what happens here at school that's going to help you and prepare you to fulfill your dreams? What do you need to fulfill your dreams? And they answered this for me. So we can achieve our dreams because we are loved, we are included, we show and feel empathy for others, we are motivated, we are creative and use our imagination, we are surrounded by helpful grown-ups and kids. We can achieve our dreams because JRRS staff and families are dedicated to our learning, and because our school exudes positivity. Now, you know those are their words. I don't think I've ever used the word positivity in my life. So they picked those words, and now they're each going to come up and expand on those thoughts and ideas for you. So Leo's going to kick us off.
We can achieve our dreams because we are loved. We should always show love for each other and try to be the best that we can be. Giving love to others will not only fill someone else's bucket, but it will also fill yours. Giving love may seem like a small thing to do, but it can turn out to be a great thing that makes someone's day. You may show love by writing a kind note. You show love when you work and play with friends. And our parents show love for our school by attending events and volunteering. Even more important is loving yourself. If you don't love how you are, how can you give love to others? Show love for yourself by being proud of your accomplishments.
We can achieve our dreams because we are included. Jesse Jackson said, "When everyone is included, everyone wins." At JRRS, we always include each other and help each other. Ratner Siemens students include each other by sitting, eating, and playing together. They help each other when going through hard times, and that support gets us closer to achieving our dreams. These pictures are some examples of inclusion at our school. We participated in Start With Hello Week, and this week we are participating in PS I Love You Week. Both events spread messages of kindness, acceptance, and inclusion.
We can achieve our dreams because we are motivated. We should always help and encourage each other each day. Motivation helps us encourage in learning and fun activity that support our growth and understanding of the world around us. When we work together, we are able to determine and define our goals. Albert Einstein said, "Try not to become a man of success, but a man of value." Our goals will help us bring value to our lives and the world. At Ratner Elementary, we are motivated to stand up to bullying, to practice our instruments and make beautiful music, to take risks and create inspiring artwork, to learn a new language, and to problem solve with friends.
We can achieve our dreams because we are creative and use our imagination. We are creative when we work together. We use our imagination as much as we can. Everyone always uses their imagination during art, reading, and more. They create beautiful pieces like the ones you see on my side and the ones you see throughout our house. There is always something new in the hallways hung up, and we always get amazed by their work. At JRRS, being creative starts in pre-K. I get so excited to see what the 4-year-old students in our school have created. Their projects use artwork while they are also learning their letters, numbers, and more. As Albert Einstein said, creativity is intelligence having fun. Never stop using your imagination. We can achieve our dreams because we show and feel empathy for others. Meryl Streep said, "The great gift of human beings is that we all have the power of empathy." We can all sense a mysterious connection to each other. Try to show a little empathy towards everyone, and before you say something, imagine yourself in their shoes. We can show empathy by being nice to everyone and thinking about what someone else has gone through before we say something that could hurt them. In these pictures, everyone is together smiling. It shows everyone feeling welcomed and included. In the photo with the yellow shirts, the 5th graders were participating in an anti-bullying event focused on empathy. We showed our commitment to anti-bullying practices through dedicating time to walking many, many laps around the Zerko Middle School.
We can achieve our dreams because we are healthy. Our teachers here at JRS are wonderful. They help us in the cafeteria or even when we need to put on a bow tie for a winter concert. They dedicate time to making learning fun, which helps us learn skills and information faster. What they teach us will help us succeed in life. We also have a safe future like the JRS. They help little kids feel safe each morning before entering their classrooms. Safety patrol also helps the teachers. When they are looking for students who need to speak to someone or work with them.
We can achieve our dreams because JRR staff and families are dedicated to our learning. At the Ratner Elementary School, everybody is dedicated to their work. JRRS staff are committed to everything they do, and JRRS students make sure their achievements are made through hard work. These photos show our industrious staff helping our bright students learn. Younger and older students are seen with their dedicated teachers making small groups, engaging in lessons to meet their individual needs. Students that are dedicated to what they do in elementary school will continue to grow and progress so that they are successful in middle school, high school, and beyond. As Timothy Lee said, with hard work and dedication, anything is possible. We can achieve our dreams because our school exudes positivity. With a positive attitude, we can rise together and strengthen our learning community. When we face the school day with positivity, we feel happy and safe and comfortable with our peers and teachers. We support positivity when we show kindness and gratitude. Having a good laugh and being positive fills us with joy. You can see at our school that children get into the spirit on Spirit Day. We also decorate our classrooms and halls with work we can be proud of and messages to keep us going every day. Our teachers have fun together and do their best to keep us smiling and working at the same time.
Let's give them a huge round of applause. So we have a great school here at Ratner Seaman, and it's a great school, part of an even greater school district. But the success and achievement of our school comes from the vision and courage of someone who has had leadership, has been a visionary for over 30 years. So we have to pay a little tribute to the greatest Christian. I want to thank your amazing students for helping me out. These were their words, those were their quotes. I didn't pick them out for them, so I'm really impressed by them. This is very nerve-wracking. They kept asking me, how many people will be there? How many people will be in front of me? And they did a fantastic job. So thank you to my friends behind me. Thank you to the staff for tuning in.
So I'd just like to share that I got two text messages based upon the screen. Both of my sons said, "Really?"
I know a lot of the students are leaving, but I just want to again commend them on a job really well done, very impressive. Round of applause, please. And Mrs. Cletter's Photoshop skills are exceptional. All right, I'll just give everybody a moment to exit the room if they so choose. At this time, I'd like to stay on topic with the student presentations. We'll just give it another moment. Good night, everybody. Please drive safely. All right. With that, I would like to invite Kaylee Lee up with the middle school student council report. Good evening, ladies.
Good evening, my name is Kaylee West. And my name is Sarah Paul. We are 8th grade student representatives. It is a pleasure to be here. On February 5th, our middle school classes celebrated World Read Aloud Session. Did you know that reading aloud and discussing books can enhance vocabulary, broaden real knowledge, and strengthen critical skills? This special day was made even more exciting by incredible authors inspiring students to the power of storytelling. A huge thank you to our library media specialist, Mrs. Cochran, for organizing such a fantastic event.
We are also incredibly grateful to our PTSA for bringing in best-selling author Gordon Coleman on March 7th. He'll be discussing his novel Restart, a book about second chances, personal growth, and resilience. It is our hope that students will make connections between the themes in this book and our Alveus Bully Prevention Program. We are looking forward to this exciting day.
The music department is in the planning stages of the annual Piano Nismo Festival, March 14th to 15th.
This is a huge event for the music department as they prepare to host over 700 students. Thank you, Mrs. Breidenbach, for all your efforts.
We are very excited to share that the JMS Math Counts team came first place at the Math Counts Long Island chapter competition on Saturday, February 8th. The team now advances to the state competition in Saratoga Springs on March 1st.
Please join us for our annual Pops concert tomorrow evening at 7:30 p.m. in the auditorium. This fun and upbeat middle school, high school concert will have you tapping along with middle school festival chorus, grade 6, grade 7, grade 8, and high school chorus classes. These 5 vocal ensembles will sing their way into your hearts just in time for Valentine's Day.
On Sunday, March 23rd, 46 middle school students will be participating at Hofstra University for Long Island History Day. Good luck to all of our contestants, and thank you to our amazing social studies department for all of your hard work.
We're especially looking forward to this Friday, and it's not because of February break. On Friday, we'll be celebrating 2 incredible events, Diversity Day and PS I Love You Day. From dancing and singing to poetry and delicious foods, it is sure to be an exciting and memorable day at the middle school.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy, for all of your hard work to make Diversity Day so special. And a big thank you to Ms. Freeland and Dr. Brush for planning PS I Love You Day.
Well, that's all for now.
Enjoy the February break.
Thank you, and we hope you enjoy your February break. All right, with that, we'll move to high school student council, Caitlin Choi and Rachel Lee.
Good evening, members of the board and Jericho community. I'm Rachel Lee, one of the student body co-presidents at the high school.
And I'm Caitlin Choi, also co-president. We have some exciting highlights from this past month to share. It's great to be here at the second best elementary school. Rachel and I went to Jackson.
Anyways, Science Olympiad crushed it at the 2025 Nassau East Regional Tournament on February 8th. Our amazing team went head-to-head with some tough STEM challenges and brought home second place overall.
Also, it is officially February, which means we're gearing up for the high school Battle of the Classes. We're planning fun games for the grades to compete in, as well as hosting a wellness day.
From January 30th to February 2nd, the Jericho Model UN team took on Harvard Model UN Conference, where thousands of students from around the world debated, negotiated, and put their diplomacy skills to the test.
On February 9th, our science research students stepped into the spotlight presenting their incredible research at the Junior Science Research Symposium, taking home some hardware for Jericho.
And our Pops concert is coming up soon, tomorrow, at the middle school and high school auditorium. Make sure to stop by 16 Handles afterwards, as a portion of the proceeds goes toward the PTA. In addition, our senior festivities are continuing, as senior superlatives were announced today.
Yeah, we could give some out here too. Most likely to run the world in heels goes to Dr. Finlay.
Best hair to Dr. Sherman.
Most likely to hit the ceiling, Mr. Gleason. Switching gears to sports updates on February 2nd, Bethpage High School proudly hosted the very first Nassau County Girls Wrestling Championship Tournament. Our female wrestlers, Jimin Her and Mo Chen, who previously wrestled against boys, also took home some wins.
And boys swimming and diving made waves at the Nassau Championships, taking home 3rd place. We're sending 8 swimmers and 1 diver to the state championship in March.
Over in girls fencing, Jericho's team battled hard and placed 2nd in Nassau County. And the winter track qualifiers took place last night. Huge congratulations to Rachel and her twin Jacob Lee for qualifying for states. Fun fact, Rachel can walk a mile faster than anyone here can run one. Congrats, Rach.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. I heard girls basketball also had a good win last night.
Yeah, we did. Both the girls and the boys are off to the playoffs taking place this week. In fact, we are beyond proud to say that every single Jericho athletics team this season has qualified for playoffs.
And Unified Bowling officially kicked off this week, wishing our bowlers a fun and successful season.
Also, our musical, the high school musical, is scheduled for March 6th through 8th, so get ready for some show-stopping performances. Make sure to get your tickets. Also, we heard that the music department's Disney trip was successful as well. Ms. Clemente looked like she was having too much fun for a chaperone, but it's fine.
Also, High School World Language Week runs from March 10th to 14th. Time to impress us with languages beyond English. And Diversity Day is on March 18th, a celebration of our vibrant community and unique voices.
And yeah, I think that's it for our February high.
P.S. I love you.
What?
P.S. I Love You Day. P.S. I Love You Day falls on Valentine's Day this Friday, making it a perfect reminder that love and kindness go hand in hand. Our school is wearing purple to show support for mental health awareness and to promote a message of kindness.
Yep, so make sure you tell your loved ones that you love them, and hope everyone has a wonderful winter break. And that's really it for February. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We hope you have a wonderful P.S. I Love You Day, Valentine's Day, and break as well. Wonderful. At this time, I'd like to invite Aileen Gingold up for the report of PTA Council.
Good evening, Mr. Grishman, Board of Ed members, Central Administration, faculty, staff, and community members. I am Aileen Gingold, and I am the president of the Joint PTA Council, and it is my pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you to Ratner Seymour for hosting tonight's meeting. The Jericho Joint PTA Council has had a busy month. At our open council meeting on January 27th, we hosted retired police officer Sharon Galvin. She gave an informative presentation on the responsible use of cell phones and social media. We learned so much about current laws and look forward to discussing these issues further with our students. Yesterday, the Joint PTA met with Assistant Superintendent Victor Manuel. Victor provided us with an overview of the budget and answered all our questions. We are so thankful for the opportunity to meet and learn where our money is going. Some of the highlights discussed were the major capital improvements taking place this summer in our buildings, the biggest one being the renovation of Jackson Auditorium. We also discussed over the last few years, there have not been any cuts to programs due to a lack of funding. In fact, the district has recently added new classes in sports and is always open to our suggestions. Finally, we had the chance to learn about the success of our lunch program. It's great to hear that kids are buying lunch in record numbers and enjoying the variety of our offerings. All of our units have been very active this month. Candy had just held a fabulous winter dance on Thursday, February 6th with over 400 attendees and were able to pull this off completely free for their families. Upcoming in March is their big fundraiser bingo night. They are also proud to announce Evan Chu has been selected as a NASA regional finalist for Reflections. Jeffrey Ratner Robert Seaman is getting ready for the Valentine's Day candy fundraiser. The 5th grade is sponsoring a bingo night on March 13th, and we are so proud of Miss Ucar's class for volunteering to package and send personal hygiene items to Mama's house this month. The kids brought over 3 carloads full of donations. Congrats to their Reflections winners, Anissa Chai, Nikita Kumar, and Emma Harris. Jackson Elementary enjoyed a fun night of bingo at their PTA meeting with Jasmine Wang. Pizza was provided for all participants, and a great time was had by all. They are looking forward to their multicultural night on March 28th, where a fashion show will close out the night. Details to come in the next few weeks. Congratulations to their Reflection winners, Kayla Weiss, Kyle Zhao, and Anne May Goenka, on advancing from the National Regional Round. The middle school is gearing up for a busy week with their Valentine's Day boutique sale on Wednesday and Thursday, and their Diversity Day food exchange this Friday. Middle school is excited to have author Morgan Corman visiting on Thursday, March 6th for a book talk and presentation to all 6th to 8th graders. Also moving on to the state level competition for their Reflections are John Banskin, Sherry Chen, Yuna Wang, and Tong Zhao. The high school is still planning and fundraising for their senior party on Wednesday, June 4th. They are excited and honored to announce that they have 5 students who are NASA Regional Finalists for their Reflections. Congratulations to Tanush Devjani, Bella Zhu, Tiffany Chow, Konstantina Sakoulas, and Isha Veramacheni. SEPTA is working on their teacher grants and applications and are preparing for their robotics night at the end of March. In April, they will be having a movie night showing the movie Out of My Mind. All Abilities Month is taking place in April as well, and SEPTA will be collecting change. Congratulations again to all of our amazing and talented students. Thank you so much. Enjoy the vacation next week and have a good night.
Thank you very much. All right, at this time, I would like to invite Mr. Manuel to present budget workshop number 2.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out on this, what's looking like to be a snowy night. Appreciate it. This is budget workshop number 2. At the first one, we went over some of the administrative codes. At this workshop, we're going to revisit the tax cap, talk about a couple of general items, and then go into our capital plan and the building condition survey. And then following that will be the PPS department and the codes associated with that area of the budget. So our tax levy cap at this point is between 2.8 and 3%. It looks like it's going to end up right at 2.94. We still have a couple of other calculations to finalize on that, and that will be finalized at the next meeting in early March. Okay, so before I get into this, I want to invite our architect, John Grillo, our construction manager, Bob Caliendo, and our director of facilities, Mike Hahn. These are the 3 men that change everything during the summer, and when you come back in September, it all looks awesome. So to start off, just looking at projects that were already approved by the voters in previous years and previous propositions. This work will physically take place this coming summer in July and August. The first being the electrical panels at the high school, middle school. We talked about this in length at the last meeting, but we had the flood back in November of 23. We've temporarily fixed it, and the permanent solution will be this summer. For the most part this summer, the high school, middle school will be off limits, and any programs that we have, for the most part, would be held actually at this building, which will be the summer music program, the special education summer school program. Additionally, I think it was mentioned earlier that Jackson Auditorium is going to get a full renovation. For those of you at the last meeting, you saw why. But during the summer, that will be a full renovation for that particular auditorium. We're going to continue with district-wide bathroom renovations and district-wide window replacements at Caniag and the high school, middle school. This is just a proposition history. We only have 1 capital reserve left at this point on the books, which is capital reserve 5. And if you look all the way on the right at the bottom, the balance is, as of June 30th, $6.4 million. I'll ask you to remember that number as we get later into the presentation. And at this point, I'm going to ask John Grillo, our architect, to talk about the building condition survey. So John and Mike went pretty much to every single area of every single building this school year during the fall. And some of the items on this list were from previous years, but you'll see a light shaded blue. Those are all new items that were listed based on their walkthrough. So John, if you could go through some of these slides.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. So just a quick reminder, the building condition survey is a mandate from the State Education Department. It must take place on a 5-year basis. It started back in 2000. The last one that was actually done in the district formally was in 2015, right before I got here. The state then in the year 2020 decided to change it up a little bit. Instead of all 700 plus school districts in New York State doing the BCS the same every 5 years, They split it up so 1/5 of the school districts do it every 5 years. So our new 5-year plan is 2024. So as Victor said, this is a breakdown by school. We actually did an informal building condition survey back in 2020, so we can continue with our 5-year plan. And if we can go through each building really quickly, the items highlighted in yellow are the recommendations of projects that we would like to see approved in the May vote, and these projects would take place and be completed in the summer of '26. So at Cantiague, this summer, we're doing the second floor windows. So we're looking to do phase 2 of that in the summer of '26 would be all the first floor windows. Replacement of the gym floor. The gym floor has been sanded. There's some board splitting. It can't be sanded anymore. It's a tongue and groove, and the tongue is basically gone, so we need the full replacement. That'll take place next summer, as well as the repointing of the chimney. At Jackson, exterior masonry, we're noticing some fair amount of masonry cracks inside the gym walls. We need to reinforce those walls. That'll get done next summer as well, again, as the chimney, repointing of the chimney and replacing of the chimney cap. Over here at this building, similar, not as elaborate in terms of the amount of work we need to do at masonry, but some repointing, some waterproofing and repair work of the exterior brick and down by the boiler room, as well as repointing the chimney and again replacing the masonry chimney cap. Williams was the one that kind of really jumped out at us when we looked at this past summer. I was up on the low roof, and there's a couple of walls that come up through the low roof and extend. It's the auditorium walls. And when I happened to look down the wall, I saw a fairly large bulge in the exterior masonry. But let administration know, and we took some immediate actions. We brought a contractor in to basically safe off the area around the lobby and the auditorium for the rest of the year. That project is going to be actually done this summer. That's one of the larger projects that we saw this year in terms of work that needs to be done. That was the most pressing of all the projects that we saw this summer. At the high school, small section of roof over the library addition from 2000, that needs to be replaced. And then if you're at the high school looking back with your back to the fields, this summer we're doing the middle school curtain wall, the 2-story portion of the building. In the summer of '26, we're recommending on the right side of the building is the 3-story high school portion of the building. It's 3-story curtain wall. We're recommending that gets done for next summer.
Thanks, John. If you take all of the projects listed on all of the sheets, that's the top half total of $58.5 million. If you look at all of the items that were highlighted in the previous sheets, that's the bottom part, which totals $7.3 million. And the way we get the funding for that is part of the general fund budget. It was in last month's budget presentation, the $1,275,000. That's a transfer to capital we do every single year out of the budget. And I asked you to remember a number at the beginning. In our capital reserve, we have $6.4 million, and we're going to use 6.1 of that to do the balance of the work that we highlighted in this particular presentation. So I'm going to stop there for a moment just to see if there's any questions on the capital plan and the building condition survey. Sam?
On Williams, what's our current financial situation in terms of rent and how much we get that we're investing $1.1 million in the building?
Well, first of all, the reason we're investing $1.1 million was because of what was seen during the building condition survey, and it's something we have to do at this point. It's not something that we're choosing to do. It's kind of a have to. As far as the building itself, we lease it out to Nassau Bosse's, where they have several of their special education programs there. Our rent, including utilities, is probably about $450,000 per year that we receive for that building, $455,000 around there. And that rent we receive on an annual basis, and they use the building and they use it for special ed programs, for all districts in Nassau County.
Do we have any other costs associated with that 455, or 455 is net to us?
455 is because they reimburse us for the utilities. They do all of the, we don't have any custodial staff there, they do all the custodial. They do the snow plowing now, which the prior tenant did not. I can't think of anything, unless there is a maintenance issue.
Grass, in the summertime, in the spring, and we do a major maintenance, I'm sorry.
Right, like what we're planning now with the one.
Any major maintenance.
How much is
As like
the-
a landlord, we would take care of.
Sure,
that.
how much is the utilities of the 455?
It's monthly, so it changes, so it's
Is it 50,000 a year? Is it 100,000 a year?
but less than 100.
Less than 100. So so somewhere between 350 to 400 a year we're clearing on rent.
Correct.
Okay.
And they also provide us 85,000 in dollars to, you know what, that's incorporated in the full lease amount. Never mind.
Okay, and then second part on the future capital plan.
Sure.
If I were to look at it for the next 2 years after this year, what's the general amount that you think we're going to have to spend? Because obviously of that 57, you have some large projects like auditoriums for 12 million, weight rooms for 5 million, which clearly, you know, unless we do something drastic, we're not going to be doing. So how much do we really think we spend over the next couple
Let
of
me
years?
separate some of the projects. So the auditorium that's listed, the weight room that's listed, anything that's like an addition, that would be a bonded type of capital expenditure versus using the capital reserve for that. The capital reserve is more for interior renovations of existing infrastructure. And again, this list grew because we did the building condition survey recently. But if you compare this list to probably 10, 12 years ago, the amount of items that are critical are much less. We were doing years of propositions that were between 10 and 15 million because I think the district was a little behind in some of the facilities being kept up with and renovated, the auditoriums, et cetera. I would say a similar number that you're seeing now, about $6 to $7 million on an annual basis will go through each of the buildings. Unless something like a Williams situation comes up that we don't know about at this point,
But like the window replacements, those are things that will get done over the next couple of years. Those are
Those are
big ticket items, but they're things.
those
that it
are
seems like we're doing.
items, yeah, let's take a look at the high school's the building that probably has the least is this building that we're in now because this is one of the first buildings we did everything to and it was the smaller building, so like Cantiac and Jackson usually have 2 or 3 phases worth of bathrooms and windows. This building, due to the size, we're able to do it.
I mean, this building has really the auditorium and the windows, and if the
Correct.
auditorium goes away, you're at $3-4 million.
Yes, my point exactly. But looking at some of the other areas in here, we have a lot of asphalt. That's on a constant basis, though, the asphalt, the sidewalks. That's every few years you're redoing certain areas of the district.
But that $4 million would be to literally repave every square inch of the
Yeah,
high school, which we're never going to do at one time.
Yeah, exactly. It's a total number that you take chunks out on an annual.
Like a 5-year plan?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, other than that, even if you look at the high school, it's really not significant as far as interior renovation projects that are necessary at this point. We redid the gym, the little theater, the auditorium, the science labs. I mean, we've done so much work in the last 10 years that the building itself is in pretty decent shape.
Thank you.
So just quickly, my understanding at the Williams School, that $1 million+ work is a structural safety issue?
It is.
Okay, so that's work that we just absolutely have to do.
That's what I was referring to earlier, that it's not a want to, it's something we have to do, we have no choice.
Can you go back to the proposition history?
Sure.
So just
On proposition history, just so everyone's clear how it works, so you have to authorize the funding, and then you authorize the spending. So capital 1 and 2 have been fully funded, and it says fully authorized to spend.
Yes.
Does that mean that we've spent that $10 million?
So, exactly, there's I'll go briefly through the life of the capital reserve. So a proposition has to be put forward to the voters to fund a capital reserve. In order to spend out of that capital reserve, we have to do a proposition, separate proposition the following year or in a couple of years to spend out of that. And once it leaves the capital reserve, so last year we did a proposition, I'll make a number up, it was $6 million. We took $6 million out of the capital reserve and then transferred it to the capital fund. So now, those capital reserves are zero, it goes to the capital fund, and then it takes 2 or 3 years to spend once it goes over to the capital fund, because now you're going to do plans, specifications that go up to the state. We wait 9 months for the state to authorize it and approve it. And the window projects, the windows are just, as far as lead time, they take 16, 20 weeks, and that's after you get approval from the state. So some of these projects, just to get them up and running and complete is 2 to 3 years down the line after the voters authorize it. Is that?
Yes, so then for Capital Reserve 5, we authorized the creation of it, and then it says the balance in Capital Reserve 5 was 6.4.
Right.
So where
I would say-
that came, so we didn't authorize to spend anything from 5 yet?
Yes, we did.
Fund up. So where's the
So
balance on here?
we probably, the proposition says we could fund it up to not to exceed $20 million. So I believe we funded it probably 10 or 11 million. Last year's proposition took about 5 million out of that. And then there was 6 million that we put in at the end of last year, which is this 6.4 million, which in this proposition, we're going to take 6.1 out of that. Make sense?
Yes, it makes sense, but it's not.
So at the end of this,
It doesn't like flow from the numbers.
So far, out of the 20 million funding, we funded close to 11 million. Including this 6.4 million, we are taking out at the end of this year, there'll be 300,000 left. But if there's any surplus or fund balance, we would recommend, we still have 9 million to put into it. I would recommend putting that money into it, and then next year, we talk about this again with new projects. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Ira?
Victor, on the Williams building,
Yes.
it's $1 million, how much that we're?
This particular project is 1.1 million, including everything.
And what's the term of the lease?
The term of the lease is 5 years. I believe we're in year 2 or 3.
So I would suggest.
And this is
I would suggest that we go out to the tenant before you put $1 million in the building and get them to extend the lease for 5 years again.
Okay.
Just a suggestion.
Okay.
Because
It's not a bad suggestion.
if 2 years in, 2 years comes and it's the end of the lease, and they vacate the place, and we never use it as a school building again, it lets in $1 million, $500,000 a year for 2 years of use.
Right, but when you look at what the project is, again, it's not like we're renovating the auditorium. This is structural things, so even if you go to sell it, it would be difficult if this kind of project wasn't done. Similar to your home, if there's cracks in your foundation and you don't fix it, you try to sell it, that'll come up as an
So
issue.
I understand that position, but there could also be a position after 2 years where the building never gets used again, gets knocked down, the school district sells it, maybe they put up 500 homes. Again, just a suggestion, $1 million into a building to extend the lease to 5 years. I just think it's good business, that's all.
And again, I agree, I think it would be good business to extend the lease. I will tell you from the information we received from Nassau BOCES, they are still short on space and they're looking to rent or buy additional space based upon their current projections and their projections over the next 5 years. So I would not be surprised if they would not be really happy to extend their lease to lock up additional space, again, based upon their increasing needs through Nassau County.
Agreed. Any other questions on capital? Thank you. I want to thank these 3 gentlemen right here, because without them, none of this would happen. Thank you. Thank you, Mike. I'm still up here. You're not done with me yet. Right now, I'm going to ask our Director of PPS, Desiree Clemente, along with our curriculum associates for special education at the elementary and secondary levels, Shannon Murray and Dave Alfano, to come up here and begin talking about our PPS department K through 12. We will start with Desiree.
Thank you so much. Oh, very loud. I guess I'll hold it. Thank you so much for having us tonight. I want to thank the Board of Ed, Central Administration, of course, all the parents that are here, the lovely set of ladies and any gentlemen. You've been so supportive. Thank you. And all of our colleagues and faculty that are here tonight. Shannon, David, and I are so excited and grateful to be able to be here to talk to you about the amazing things that we're doing in Pupil Personnel Services, all the programs that your kids are involved in, and some of the amazing happenings that are on the horizon. So this first slide here really just talks about the staff that we oversee in PPS. We are a hub of many different small subset departments, and really when we look at everybody who's here, we're advancing the mission of just serving our kids in inclusive and supportive programs and communities. So when you look ahead into the 25-26 school year, we're looking at not making any changes in terms of the support that's already in existence. So the coordinators, the facilitators, all the teachers, special education small class, co-teachers, learning center instructors, teacher aides, everyone who's supporting their students already, we're hoping to continue to have that model in place to keep that level of support for our kids. Okay. Ms. Murray is going to talk a little bit about those particular programs.
Good evening, everyone. So we're going to go over some of the wonderful programs that the PPS department supports on a daily basis. So in terms of our continuum of services that we offer for our kids that receive services through special education, that would entail programs such as co-teaching, special class, resource room, consultant teacher, and then related services such as speech, OT, PT, and counseling. To talk about some of our specific programs that we house here. At the elementary level, we have a total of 5 special classes. 2 of them are at Caniac, 2 of them are at Jackson, and then our new small class that we opened up this year at Seaman is doing amazing, and that is projected again for next year. At the middle school and high school, we have 15-1 small classes, and those are for students who are on a Regents track. So they are in the areas of math, science, social studies, and ELA. And that's if you just need some more support or specialized instruction in those 4 core subjects. At the middle school, we also have a 12-1-2 small class, and that is for our alternatively assessed students, as well as that program continues into the high school, which is our career and skills development class, which I'm sure you're all familiar with Cool Beans. And then, some of the supports that support these wonderful programs on a daily basis. We have our own BCBA here, Dr. Casano. She is our behaviorist that really supports all of our students that receive services through special education, and as well as some of our students that may not have an IEP or 504 and are just struggling with some behaviors, and she supports the teams on a daily basis. We also have an AAC consultant, so that is for our students that are using alternative communication devices, who are nonverbal, and they use those devices to communicate. So we bring in a consultant to work with a team for those needs. And then we're always continuing to, as you know, and some of us are, literacy is an ever-going, changing world, and so we're constantly bringing in consulting firms such as Da Vinci to help support our special education teachers with specialized instruction in the area of reading.
Good evening, everybody. I want to talk a little bit about the next section here, which we have the life skills program. We have the career and skills development classes. A few things that we have to support our students are the dedicated culinary facility, which is it's basically a kitchen, something you have in your class in your own homes. We have built in Jericho that the students get to experience and learn how to gain these practical skills while cooking. And in addition to that, they're learning also some of the academic parts where measuring, following procedural routines while they're cooking. The other aspect of the culinary space is actually creating a menu and then buying the items and then following that whole process to fruition to the items they're actually baking for us or making for us. As Ms. Murray must mentioned earlier, the cool beans and the people who also always order from us and cater to a lot of the events. You've all had a sample of the cool beans product, which I'm going up for seconds. I know a few of us do go up for seconds. The other cool beans aspect is that they're open throughout the day for that caffeine kick we all kind of need midday. Myself, probably getting one a day. It's also a great time to kind of see the students interact with the populations of other school members, whether they be students or faculty that go and purchase from the Cool Bean Cafe. We also have a mobile cart, which is kind of like a Cool Beans on wheels in the middle school that we're trying to also bring back. It's all really dependent on a lot of students, which also brings me to the PACE Lab, which is a practical space where students learn practical skills in job settings and learn small skills to kind of develop as they get older. And with the new students that do come up, we kind of modify and adapt the things that are being taught in that space to really feed the need of the students in that space in current times. We also have a CEO partnership for vocational parts that go out into the community. We go into community locations like restaurants, stores, and other places where the students can actually learn in real time and gain a skill as they kind of go out into the community and also socialize, which is a huge part of working with the skills development program. After school socialization is also a big part where we kind of incorporate with many of our CAs and their programs and the clubs that we have developed in the school where our students get to work with other kids and participate in as much of the activities. I know recently they worked on the Valentine's Day Get Bags with the Best Buddies program, which is great to see. Some of our other after-school activities is the Independent Thinkers from Dr. Danielle Goldstein. Wendy Goldstein, sorry, I mixed up my two. They're both great people. And Michael Carmen. They run the Independent Thinkers, which is a great program where they kind of show our students how to cope and work with things that they're going to be expecting in the future. So it's a great program that a lot of our students go into. The Best Buddies middle school and high school programs are always working towards kind of incorporating everybody, which is always great to see. They get very, very excited to kind of participate in those activities. And the Unified Basketball, thanks to John Mankiewicz, who always puts on a show everywhere he goes. We actually added bowling, which started early this week, and hearing the kids come back the next day, just super excited about having to go out there and participate on both sides, whether it be our special needs students or the student volunteers who get to participate and really enjoy that event. So it's great to see, and a lot of things will be coming down the line. We'll get to share them on next meetings. Back to Desiree.
So on the Jericho website, if you are bored one day, we do have our own link in our own page where the PPS department has all information for even parent resources, student resources, all kinds of updated news. So you can get a plethora of information on the website. But of course, if you ever have any questions, feel free to always call either David, Desiree, or myself. One of the also collaborations that we've had is with the Northwell Consortium, and that's been going on now for a few years to support our social and emotional well-being of our students, and we're continued to focus on that as well for next year. One of the other things that Mr. Michael Carmen, one of our school psychologists, he really does support our families with the OPWDD process and Access DR, helping students transition after school. So that is something that we do work with. And I just want to give a big shout out to our SEPTA ladies in the back. SEPTA has been exploding. Our little crew in the back of moms and dads that work tirelessly, and the emails that go back and forth on a daily basis, and they really are just doing an amazing job. Some of the monthly presentations are just beyond so informative, and they really put a lot of heart and soul and thought into the monthly presentations. The fundraisers are amazing, as well as the teachers get to submit proposals for grants, and they purchase things for the classrooms at all levels. But ladies, thank you so much for everything that you do. We really could not do it without you.
And one last plug for SEPTA. SEPTA supports all students, classified and non-classified, so if you have not already joined SEPTA, please consider joining. There's links on the website as well for that. Okay, so this next slide just talks about our enrollment. So looking across this 2-year here, we were at 7.88% last year, and now we're at 7.87. What that means is just under 8% of the students in district are serviced in some way by a special education program or related service. These numbers do include our LUHI students, all of our students that are in our 5 district buildings, as well as our students who are in off-campus locations. At the bottom, we also see our preschool students. Mr. Michael Carmen wears many hats. He is also our CPSE coordinator. So all of our little guys who are receiving services in preschool special education are encompassed in that number there. Not a problem, you were a little ahead of the game here. So 504 students, so again, when we look across the trend, our numbers are relatively stable across the last 3 years in 504s. Our 504 students are prioritized, of course, for us to be able to support them with accommodations so that they can access their general education curriculum. That includes things like test accommodations, program modifications within the classroom, really just supporting them so that they can, succeed and achieve their best potential with a little bit of that classroom modification support. If you look down the trend line, we do seem to tend to have larger numbers as we move into the upper grades, which is not atypical in any of the populations from the districts on Long Island. Sometimes later diagnosis, and I think just as the rigor picks up, sometimes things come out, coping skills are no longer just enough. Postgraduate plans, we're particularly proud of this slide. So many of our students with special education classifications go on to 2- and 4-year colleges. We have some kids who go into the military and other students who are in adult services. But really, all of the programs that we have talked about tonight, our life skills programs, co-teaching, all across the continuum, we're really just looking to make sure that every student has what they need to succeed in their post-secondary goal and their choice. So again, Mr. Michael Carmen, last shout out for him. He's our transition coordinator, so he's always looking at those end-year plans for our students as they move towards graduation to make sure they're aligned for, again, if it's a college readiness or if it's the military, adult services, or otherwise. I think that's the last slide. Before I give it back to Mr. Manuel, one more thank you to everyone, particularly, again, I'm still new here, my first year. Mr. Alfano is new. Everyone has been so welcoming and supportive. I have to give another shout out to our crew back here, curriculum associates and building administrators. You have shown by example and model how inclusive and wonderful this community is. Thank you. You want us to say?
Questions now or questions after? You can question now if it was something that was already just like talked about. Yeah, that's okay.
First of all, thank you to the whole PPS department. You guys are amazing. You would never know that 2 of you are brand new, so it seems like you've been here forever and you're doing a great job. Thank you. Now the not so nice part. So several years ago, I think before most of the other board members were on the board had made a request that we wanted to add a new PPS staff person each year. And for several years we've been doing that. Actually, I think several of the board members who were on the board when we did that are here, so welcome.
It wasn't PPS, it was advisory. It was somewhere, it was also in Mr. Sloan's department.
So we had talked about, I know we added a elementary counselor last year, and I know that was really successful, and we were talking about adding another one. So I see that we remain the same number, so I would like to see if it's possible to add this year or put in a further request that it
So 2 things.
get back on track to add that.
The counselors were not on this presentation. That'll be the next one. So we could bring it up again then. But I know I mentioned this before, some of the challenges we're facing this year. We just received the RFP for transportation literally today. We're going to be reviewing it over the next couple of weeks. That's definitely going to be a heavy hit budget-wise. One. Number two, 10 years ago, our enrollment was 2,958. This year it's above 3,300, which is pretty significant. It's probably about 12% over that time increase. There's been a similar increase in FTEs to just accommodate that increase in enrollment. We'll see that at the next presentation also on March 6th. So this year was definitely on the challenging side. I know we were talking about adding that piece. I'm not sure it will be feasible. I'll know a little more in a couple of weeks when we go through the RFP for transportation.
Gotcha, okay, so just with the increase in number of students, that does increase the needs for services and counseling. So I'm just, just reiterating that, I understand the financial constraints, but
I would love to
just putting that out there.
Yeah, okay. I just want to do a quick shout out to Barbara Bauer for coming out in the snow today, just for the budget presentation. Sam, do you have a question?
Page 43, the 289A, that's just IEPs you were saying? Or that's IEPs and something else? Go back to enrollment, children with special needs. One more.
So it's classified students, but we do support the classified students at Lou High as well. So it includes the A at the bottom, means that total includes.
And for when you say classified, you're talking about IEP, not 504 classified, that's on the next page. And only because, as you said, you're new here, but you said it's consistent across Long Island. Can you just discuss a little bit more, because it's a new perspective, I've asked this question several times in the past, the increase from basically 3 to 4% of our students in middle school having 504s to 7+% in high school having 504s. And are those new students to the district, or are they, as Mrs. Vartnoff said, just kids who suddenly, you're like, okay, burden's gotten higher and we've got this, or I'll be cynical, kids who just want some other...
I won't be cynical. I mean, there may be some aspect of that. I think a lot of it really is the rigor increases and the amount of testing that occurs. The anxiety rises for some kids. So things that before they were using coping mechanisms to just get through are now really impacting them in a way where they're not able to show their success.
So when you get to high school, what are some of the largest what's the most common 1 or 2 or 3 accommodations that kids who weren't 504s in middle school to then become 504s in high school? What are the 2 or 3 top accommodations?
Testing, extended time for testing is really the top one.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Desiree. Thank you.
So essentially what we're saying is the rigor increases, the stress increases, some of these conditions that drive themselves at that point.
No, of course. Yeah, I mean, students in elementary school can have ADHD or anxiety and be getting building level services and be coping. And they're okay, they're being successful. When it starts to impact them academically is when we talk about either 504 committee or CSA.
Right, you can even see that in the spaces they're growing, right? So elementary school, they're in one space where they kind of enclosed in one area. As middle school, they start to move around. High school, they're moving around a lot of different spaces. They're dealing with a lot of different environments, and just dealing with everything in a whole becomes a little more.
So the conditions are different.
Conditions, yeah. Environments.
And last one, sorry, in this presentation, are you dealing with kids who don't have 504s, who aren't classified, but who just get reading services, say? Or are those not part of the numbers in your, those are not part of the numbers in your presentation? Do those students come under your department though, correct? The reading specialists?
They see some of the specialists overlap. Like we do have some teachers who are special education teachers who are also seeing students in an AIS capacity in a different.
We do have reading teachers that are for general ed kids that are not 504 and not IEP as well.
Right, so just to jump ahead to this page.
That'll be the next
those teachers who are shared, do you break them up in this page? Or?
I break up the co-teachers. I break up small classes specifically at the secondary level because you could have a teacher that teaches a general ed class, and then also teaches a small special ed class. So we break those up because it's just a lot, and we need to do that because the 2110 code versus the 2250 code are very different. The reading piece on special ed, it's not as significant. I think the reading teachers, for the most part, are more district-wide as opposed to specifically for special ed. So that's why we don't really break it down at the reading level. We break it down for co-teaching, and we break it down for small class. At the elementary level, small class is easy. You have a full-time teacher. But again, at the secondary level, it's very different.
And so ENS wouldn't be in here either? E&L, yeah,
So
sorry.
E&L is part of the People and Personnel Department, but it's not part of this budget.
Okay, so it's a separate, what other?
It's part of 2110. You'll see it on March 6th.
And is that the only place where PPS shows up that's not in this presentation, or are there other places?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the counseling code, you could go kind of back and forth a little bit on, is it for, special needs or not? Like the psychologist is also, they have their own code, the psychologists, which you'll see later on in this presentation. But I don't split that into 2250 and psychologists. So, thank you very much for so based upon that, this is the budget specifically for 2250 special education. We worked hard on this particular slide for various reasons, some of the challenges I mentioned earlier. There are a couple of code breakouts in the future slides. This we look at every year, estimated tuition and services. This is for students that are attending, special education students attending a school outside of the district. Either we place them there or it eventually becomes a stipulation. That would be in the top number, the private. So we're expecting, we know of 5 students next year, because a couple graduated this year, but we know of 5 students, and we budget for an additional 3 contingency. Public, we know that we're going to have 1 student. Public is just another public school district, so I'm not sure where this particular student goes, but it could be Roslyn School District, it could be Great Neck. They have programs, as we have programs, and we bring a kid or 2 in from outside the district, and we collect revenue on those. And then BOCES, we know of 9, and we're adding 3 for contingency. And those are the budget numbers associated with that. This area we decreased because we're looking like we're going to spend about 1.2, 1.3 this year. I think last year we spent about 1.1. So we were able to comfortably bring this budget number down to about 1.5. Yes?
That number on the previous slide about students in public schools.
This one?
Yeah. Is that typically year after year, 0 to 1, 1 to 2 students, or is it typically more than that?
It hasn't been more than that, at least for like the last 7 or 8 years. It'll be like, we have 1 student now. Before that, I think we had 3 years of no students.
And is there a pattern to the services that are being offered at those other schools like that we don't have here?
I'm going to say no, only because we didn't have a student going to a public school until, I think, the second half of last year. And then the 3 years before that, we didn't have any. Again, the private schools are the ones with the stipulations, or we place them in a state-approved private school.
But if it's another public school, I'm just wondering if there's
Yeah,
something.
we have, correct me if I'm wrong, we have 1 student attending our school also, right? So we have a student who resides in another district that we had room in one of our special education classes, that it's just the opposite of this. They're coming to our program, and then that district is paying us for that program. Make sense? These are the health services. These are our wonderful nurses district-wide. No change in the number of nurses. Sorry? It is 1 per elementary school. We also have 1 at Lou High, or 0.6 at Lou High, or no, 1 at Lou High, 1 full. And then how many do we have at the high school, middle school? 1 and 1. And then a floater.
The floater's on a schedule, she's helping out depending on what's going on.
So we have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a full-timer at Lou High 6. That's a full-time employee. And then, how many floaters? One full-time floater, and then the .6 is just like substitutes type of thing?
Yeah, depending on what's going on during the sports season, I believe we've got more.
Right, okay. You're welcome. Psychologists, social workers, there is no changes in the staffing in this area as well. And then upcoming meetings, I'll reiterate, the next meeting we'll be looking at general education. That's one of the biggest line items in the district. And again, the challenges that we've been facing in that area has been increased enrollment, which equates to increased FTEs. We have instructional technology at the next meeting. We have clubs, athletics, transportation, and employee benefits at the next meeting.
Can we just go back to the financial slide, please, page 46?
Which one?
One back. Yep, one more. There it is. Between 23-24 and this year's budget, there's 40% increases between in elementary speech and secondary speech, in instructional salaries for LCI. And do you have any updates on where we are year to date on those budget line items, given that we had budgeted, as I said, about 40+% increases in each of those line items?
Which one do you want to look at first?
Elementary speech, 126.
Okay. That budget we've kept relatively flat, the budget, and we've been expending significantly less. I don't anticipate.
Okay, so the 40% last year, the 40, like, because we went on from last year to this school year, not the budgeted one, but this school year. This school year's budget was up about 40% over actual 23-24.
Correct.
You're saying that we are going to have some cushion left there.
We will.
What about
We call it
secondary?
contingency.
Of course, secondary speech. Similarly, a 40% increase year over year. Are we running closer to 23-24?
That one will probably be. It won't be above 7, but it'll probably be in the 6s.
Again, instructional salaries up about 20%. Is that?
Which one are you looking at now? LCIs?
Yes, just go right down.
Yeah. LCIs. It's been around 2.7, but you could see a spike from 22-23 to 23-24. So we did account for it, and you can see I lowered the budget slightly for next year from this year.
Right, no, absolutely. That's why I'm just, like I said, I'm trying to understand. I don't remember the reasons we spiked it 40% or 20% last year.
Whenever we're on the reducing side, I try to be a little more conservative because, sometimes you wonder, was that just an odd year for that particular line item? But go ahead.
Yeah, and then I guess you go 2 lines down, non-instructional salaries for aides.
Yeah, well, you look at the aides, look at 21-22, 4 million, then 3.9, and if you went by actuals, you would have said, oh, I'll budget 4.2 on 23-24. We ended up spending 4.4. So aides.
That's why I'm asking, where are we running now that we're almost half a year into the year? Are we close to the 4.4 or the 4.9?
4.9.
Okay.
The aides are very. They could spike in a particular year and they could drop in a particular year pretty significantly depending on the needs of the students.
Got it. When you budget this for elementary speech, secondary speech, or even when we do the assignments, what metrics do we use? Like for elementary school or high school, we have a certain number of students per classroom. How do you budget that or how do you figure out how many instructional salaries you need for those classes? Down going just to all the instructional salaries. I guess those are in classroom.
Yeah, I mean, the small classes are at the elementary level. It's easy. We have, 5 different small classes at the building, so it's 5 full-time teachers.
Sure.
It's the aides that are probably a little more, a little more difficult to pin down because that could literally change from month to month as far as a particular student's needs. And especially from year to year. But elementary level is a little easier. At the high school level, Again, you're getting into teachers that are teaching general ed, but they may do a period of 2 in small class. That one's a little more difficult to track, but we try to do that as best as possible.
And with Learning Center instructors?
Learning centers also, I sit down with, this year was Desiree, we went through all of the LCIs this year, where they are, what we anticipate for next year. Maybe not as transient as aides, but more transient than like an FTE for a teacher.
Yeah. So, and then the last thing on PPS, we had talked about at the beginning of the year, I know our grant money had gone away, and so the summer program is not going to be happening this summer?
So when you say grant money, it's not all federal fund. Well,
It wasn't all, but it was started based on the federal fund. It was funded mostly by the federal fund.
For that particular program,
Yes.
the summer program, and the after-school program. That was the American Rescue Plan, which ran out in September, and we don't have that funding coming forward anymore.
So right now, any summer program that we did last summer is not included in the current budget?
It's not included in the current budget. I don't know how we would have done it anyway because of the
space limitation.
The construction that was
Yeah.
doing. Yeah.
Okay, no problem at all. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Thank you all. Good stuff.
Thank you, Victor, for the very detailed budget review. All right, at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Grishman for his superintendent's report.
Thank you, Chris. Our enrollment report as of February the 7th is 3,320 students. It's an increase in 9 students. And again, historically, January, February, March, we do experience an increase in our enrollment mid-year. And again, that's with the +9. That appears to be the pattern that we're going to see for this February as well as March. Again, so many congratulations to students and staff. That always gets covered by PTA council report, middle school report, and high school report. So many things that every month we're so proud of in terms of the accomplishments of our students, the many accomplishments of our students and our staff. Again, it was mentioned, the Disney trip was mentioned in the high school report. Again, I think a highlight from 2 years ago that got replayed this year. The students, 160 students, and a dozen staff members. I think the staff members had as much fun, maybe more fun than the kids did, but I heard that there was room checks for both the students and for the staff. This is a busy time of the year for our high school seniors, and we're getting a great deal of good news from our high school students as once again this year we're hearing about kids getting accepted to their first choice schools, and again I think it's going to be another banner year for our high school seniors. Just a quick shout out, which we don't do often enough. You heard from our architect and his team of support from Mike and Bob Caliendo for the incredible work they do. Add on to that the reports from our special ed leadership team. It is always incredible for me to sit here and listen to the reports that our staff makes on the work that they're doing in building the coming budget and building upon the successes that they've had in the prior year. The administrative staff does just an absolutely incredible job, and we don't congratulate them enough for the hard work that they all do. So I just would like to take a moment to thank them. And I always forget to mention Victor. Thank you, Victor, for all the good work you do. Thank you, sir.
Just a couple of questions, Mr. President. You have some questions first?
No, please.
Yep. I know last weekend, last Friday, I think, was the cutoff for our first cutoff for residency recertification. Do we have an update on where that stands?
Thanks, Sam. So yes, as of today, we have completed 72% of all those that we've reached out to. As you know, we added third grade this year, so some of the remaining 28%, a disproportionate amount is in grade 3, so obviously there's still some more work for us to do. We started the process a little earlier than we have in previous years. So we're a little bit ahead of the game, but obviously we still have some families to work with and reach out to.
Just because I get the question quite often, can you just talk about the school's policy on paper notices hung on the walls in the middle school and high school by student groups or teachers or administrators? Who gets to put them up? How long do they stay up there? How many are they allowed to put up? Who takes them down? After what period of time?
Brian, whether you can help us out?
In the high school, that goes through. Thank you, sir.
I'll give you one.
Sure.
You can come up, Mr. Cody, like, it's
Yeah.
probably just easier to let him come to the podium.
That's right, sure.
And Mr. Gleason's welcome here.
In the high school,
You just gotta turn it on. Just turn it on.
In the high school, all of the signs are put up through student council, a lot of information through clubs and things like that. And then basically, what we do as administrative staff, as we walk around the building, and after the dates of the meeting take place, we go around and take them down.
For non-dated items?
There's not many signs up that are not dated.
Okay.
Yeah, if there is, we'll look, but anything we try to go down and try to make sure any of the signs are up are.
So everything, when you say goes through student council, it's approved by student council or it's hung by student council?
Approved by student council.
So student council approves everything that gets hung, the clubs, individual clubs or classes or activities, then hang them up, and then usually janitorial services will take them down or administration will take them down once the date has passed. And all of them are dated.
Usually it's dates for meetings, dates for events.
Okay.
Most are, yeah.
Was there a specific concern, Sam?
No, I've been asked the question about lots of different things, but yeah, that was no specific thing. Same in the middle school, Mr. Gleason?
Largely the same. We have a club called the Advertising Club. They produce a number of flyers for other clubs. The club advisors approve the flyer, they put them up, like dates on them, or they get approved by them. So club advisors will.
Thank you.
So once the date of the event passes, it's removed. Anybody else have questions on Mr. Grishman's presentation? No? All right, wonderful. At this time, I'd like to move into agenda item number 7, a discussion on renaming Antioch Elementary School. As many of you know, a proposal was brought forth by the public at the last meeting to honor Mr. Grishman upon his retirement with naming Antioch Elementary School. We did say that we would put this on the agenda for this meeting to discuss moving forward, so I'd like to open the floor to discussion at this time, if anybody would like to comment.
I think it's a noble idea to consider, and I think the board should put together a plan and a timeline and a policy to establish the mechanism whereby whether it's schools, buildings, auditoriums, parking lots are named in honor of people. And I think, I don't know if our law firm can take the first draft of that policy, or someone on the board wants to draft that policy or has a draft of that policy, but I think, you know, as with anything, we should come up with a policy and a procedure on how this goes about and take it from there.
Yes. I'm happy if we were to adopt a policy on naming. after we do this renaming of Candiac for Hank. I can't imagine any policy that could possibly exist that would not be in favor of renaming Candiac for Hank. There's a Latin phrase, res ipsa loquitur, I learned it in law school, and it means the thing speaks for itself. There should not be need for any discussion to honor this man who has given his blood, sweat, tears, and love to this district for over 30 years. And I can't believe that there could be any discussion that this should not happen. And I'm happy to ask Steve to draft a policy, but that will become after we do this. And while we're on the subject of that, Steve, can you explain the process and what needs to be done to name the building after someone?
As it currently stands, you don't have a policy that dictates, which means the board has the discretion to do what they want to do. What? No. By board resolution. Pass the resolution, and then after that happens, just like what happened with the last elementary school change, you have to go apply through beds and to change the code, so the name would be changed from whatever it is to whatever it will become. But to the original question, yes, of course I can draft a policy regarding dedications and namings.
Do other districts have it? Like, do you have a standard one that's off the shelf?
Some do, some don't. Some have no policies, some have policies. It really just depends. There's no rhyme or reason. And again, it's really a board decision as to how they want to determine how they're going to name something or dedicate. So yes, I can provide examples that I've done for other districts.
Okay, that's wonderful. What I will say is, in anticipation of this conversation this evening, and obviously after it was brought up last month, I, for one, philosophically, totally support honoring Mr. Grishman upon his retirement, and I can't think of anybody who's more worthy. I will say, everybody in the auditorium, or just about everybody in the auditorium last month, stood in standing ovation of Mr. Grishman and his contributions to Jericho schools over this past 30 years. That being said, I think anything we do of this magnitude needs to be done responsibly. I did take the opportunity to review many districts to look to see how they handle naming of buildings, naming of facilities, specifically renaming of facilities, and many districts have nothing with respect to policy, and that's fine, or procedure. It's at the board's discretion, but the districts that I did find that named or renamed substantial facilities all subscribe to soliciting public comment, and I think that's something that is the responsible thing for the board to do. And I'm happy to say we have received a lot of input from the community, and I would hope that the community would continue to do that. So, messages in support of doing this, or messages, messages that may not support this. That's important information that would need to be shared with us. Personally speaking, I would hope that we could honor Mr. Grishman appropriately. But again, community input is going to be an important part of this decision that we make. And I do believe, again, personally, that honoring Mr. Grishman appropriately is in the best interest of the district. So with that, I do encourage people to reach out to the Board of Education via our email. Feel free to reach out to us personally, by telephone if need be, but I do encourage community input before the board makes a decision, like I said, of this magnitude.
So along those lines, Mr. Gusek, could you at least put together something that you could distribute to the board members, or
Why do we need a policy if we renamed in a building we're sitting right now? It's not something we give out just willy-nilly.
Gina, we can't hear you very well. Do you mind just stepping up to the podium? Do you mind stepping up to the podium just so those at home can hear too?
Hi, my name is Gina Levy.
I'm just curious, we're sitting currently in a building that we chose to honor somebody. This is not something Jericho, I think as a community, that we ever take lightly in naming just for the sake of it. Mrs. Bauer, other people we've been here that we've done scholarships for. This building was named after Mr. Ratner for a reason. To have another policy or procedure for something that very rarely gets done, I think is a waste of our time. There are so many other things that I know that we can focus on and better procedures and policies to put in place. Once you do that, I think it becomes very dangerous, because then if somebody wants to honor somebody who's retiring and have a plaque put up by a tree, do we have to go through a policy and procedure? As just myself speaking right now, I understand, Sam, what you're saying, so it's not just broad all over the place, but that's not how we've ever used it in Jericho. I don't foresee it ever being done. And I can't understand why we would need to even go through something like that. I think it's just, we honor, we respect leaders in our community that we think are deserving. And this community, for at least the 28 years that I've been here, I have yet to see anybody abuse or not have respectful discussions of how we're gonna honor people in this room, volunteers, teachers, administrators, and everybody. I just don't foresee a need of having to be in one of those school districts. We are Jericho, we are leaders, we use things responsibly. I don't see a need for another policy
I appreciate your point. I think I can understand. Just 2 points that I'll make. We're not talking about a plaque. We're not even talking about a building. We're talking about an elementary school. Okay, we only have 3 of them. And what's being proposed is quite frankly, very, very out of the ordinary. So to go through a proper policy and a proper procedure would be, in my view, the wise and prudent thing to do. And by the way, there's no rush. Mr. Grishman isn't going anywhere. If we do it today, we do it next February, we do it this June, nothing has changed. And the second part that I'll say to you, which again, there are those who are short-sighted. If what you're saying is all we need to do to name a building is to have 3 or 5 board members vote in favor of it, who's to say in 2 years that 3 or 5 board members aren't going to vote to remove that name from the building? So if you want something to be done properly, if you want something to be done, in long term, then this is the way you do it. And I understand your scoffing, and I understand that. But you know what? It's not crystal clear to everyone in this community. And again, I'm not putting any opinion on whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. I'm simply saying that the way you're supposed to do this, when you're using taxpayer dollars on taxpayer buildings, on taxpayer property, you need to go through a procedure. That's it. And if 3 or 5 board members disagree with me, then you know what? That's fine.
I'm not disagreeing. It was just more policies, procedures. We're sitting in a building that we clearly made the right decision. But I don't think in 3 to 5 years somebody can take Mr. Ratner's name off of this building that we're in. So it's not highly unusual. We've already done it.
Okay, thank you. I do appreciate the comments. And listen, I truly believe that Mr. Grishman is deserving of this honor. What I will say, as a elected member of this Board of Education, this was brought forth, I believe, on January 23rd. We're not even 30 days into this. I do think, as a board, we do need to solicit public comment. And like I said, the comments are coming in, and there's a lot of, really, positive comments coming in. There's some members of the community that have had some concerns about potentially renaming a building after anybody, for that matter. That being said, I can tell you that I firmly support, honoring Hank. I just want to make sure that we do, reserve the time to get those public comments in, and the board will take that up. I do believe that, at a minimum, is an important part of the procedure in doing so. And to Sam's point, I would hope that a board in the future would not try and remove a name from a building unless there was a compelling reason to do so. But by doing this responsibly and by doing this, utilizing a sound procedure, any future efforts to do that for any reason, I would hope would be scuttled. So, to do anything, again, if a Board of Education is going to recognize an individual for, exemplary service, it's really important that distinction remains, and I just want to make sure that we follow proper procedure. So with that, I would strongly encourage people to continue communicating with us, and I would hope that we can have this on the agenda for next month for continued discussion and for a resolution if appropriate.
And just the last thing to Mrs. Levy's point, this shouldn't be a divisive issue for the community. If it becomes a divisive issue, I have to believe, I think it becomes, the wrong decision. I'm hoping that whatever comes out of this is a unifying decision, because I don't think the superintendent would want any part of his legacy to be some divisive issue on his way out the door.
I couldn't agree more.
And so I think it's very important that we do this and we do it properly.
Thank you. All right, with that,
Chris, it looks like you have some.
I was actually going to move that into opportunity for public to be heard, unless people want to come up and do that now. What would you prefer? Why don't we move that into opportunity for public to be heard? That'll obviously be reflected in the minutes, and we can take it from there, just to move the agenda along, if that's okay with us. And we could even open up another opportunity for public to be heard. That's fine. All right, so at this time, we're going to move into opportunity for the public to be heard. If you would like to make a comment or ask a question, please tell us your name. Just if I may finish. If you would like your statement to be included in our board minutes, you must hand in a written copy of your remarks to our district clerk, Victor Manuel, immediately before speaking. Nothing you don't know. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And please.
And I did hand my a copy to
I wanted these comments to be reflected in the minutes. I thought that it is important to memorialize this, given the number of people who want to speak and obviously the topic we're discussing.
Good evening. I'm speaking tonight in support of naming Kettiak Elementary School in honor of Mr. Henry L. Grishman. From the day of his first tenure on July 1st, 1995, and for each of the next 30 years, Mr. Grishman has had one goal in mind: to ensure that the Jericho schools meets the needs of each and every student who walks these halls.
Pardon me, Mrs. Bauer, I apologize. Point of order, Mr. President.
Yes.
Under the policy, under the procedures, you read it, that there's not allowed to be any comments that would negatively reflect on any employee of the school district. In past conversations when we've had this, and as under council, we have not allowed laudatory comments because there's no opportunity for someone who disagrees with that to get up and speak. So while Mrs. Bauer, I'm sure, as she started to talk about the superintendent's exemplary service over the last 30 years, there's no way for someone who disagrees with that to speak. And hence, we are putting together a conversation. And this is what Mr. Powers had said to us last year, that you should not just allow people to get up and speak if you're not going to allow someone to contradict that, should they so decide to, should they so want to.
Steve, do we have an opinion on this?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to your view, you have to be viewpoint neutral. So if you're going to allow, again, this is about the naming, why the naming should be. It's not laudatory. It's about a recommendation. It's about a recommendation. So
No, but the recommendation is based, and again, she started off by saying she was in favor of it. I have no problem with that. Then she started to talk about his service, and I'm sure that was where the rest of the speech was going. Now, the problem is, if someone were to get up and say, I disagree with that, under our policy, you're not allowed to say that. So what I'm saying is, if someone came up and said, and like I said, I'm simply trying to move this along in the proper way. What is someone allowed to get up and say if they disagree with what Mrs. Bauer was starting to say?
I mean, it depends. You're asking me for a bright line rule. I'm not bright line. So If someone disagreed and said, I don't believe that Mr. Grishman was a good superintendent, they have the ability to say that. If they were to say that Mr. Grishman is something horrible and a complete lie, that's not appropriate. You can't do slander. There's a difference. People are entitled to their opinions. You have to be viewpoint neutral, and the board has to allow both. I don't know what policy that you're speaking of, which says that you will not, you have a policy that just, the whole point is.
Dr. Forester just read it. He says you cannot say anything that would harm the reputation of any employee or student.
Harming the reputation is a lot different than having an opinion as to what you believe with their practice.
Okay, and that's fine.
There is a difference.
Are the comments permitted under?
That's what I'm trying to say.
It's either all or none. But again, it depends.
But how can we allow someone to get up here and say, XYZ is a horrible person and doesn't deserve this? That's what I'm trying to
You
understand.
can't say this person is a horrible person, you can't say.
Mr. Mandel, I appreciate your input. I'd really prefer to hear from Mr. Goodstaff.
Saying that you don't believe that Mr. Grishman was a good superintendent is a lot different than calling him a horrible person. It's two different.
But I expect, based on the comments we heard last month, and you were not here, and you were not, and there were comments that were much more than he was a great superintendent. It was praise and praise and praise. And so, if someone's going to get up, and we've received emails about it saying, "Oh."
Steve, from what you're telling me, it sounds like these comments are permitted. As far as I'm concerned, I'd like to allow them to continue. If anybody has an issue with it, please give me a call.
Thank you for the opportunity to be heard. I really appreciate it. Mr. Grishman has led this district to realize success in academic, emotional, and social arenas. So much so, the Jericho district is considered among the best public school districts on Long Island, in New York State, and in the country, according to multiple professional sources. He has been called to lead during crises, tragedies, and a pandemic, and has done so with empathy for all, sensitivity to the effects of taxpayers of this district, and an understanding of what is required to ensure that everyone in this community was comforted and supported while never losing sight of Jericho's high standards. I have had the privilege of working in this district as a principal and as an assistant superintendent. In both roles, I was able to observe Mr. Grishman as he demonstrated his respect for each member of the staff, as well as the goals and concerns of every member of the PTA and the community. However, what stands out in my mind is the joy that he experienced in being with, conversing with, and working with the students of this district. The times he interacted with students from their first day in kindergarten to the day they graduated in high school were the happiest of his life. Indeed, while he was invited several times throughout his tenure to work as an administrator in New York State and other districts, he has always chosen to remain here in Jericho with the students and the community that he loves. You might ask, why choose Cantiac? While Mr. Grishman has kept each of Jericho's schools close to his heart, Cantiac is the place where he watched 3 of his grandchildren begin their educational journey and realize their goals under the tutelage of some of the best teachers and the best administrators in this country. Naming a school after any one person is surely a great honor. However, I believe, and I believe this community believes, it's one that Mr. Grishman surely deserves.
Good evening.
I'm appearing here tonight also in support of renaming the Cantiac Elementary School after Superintendent Hank Grishman, who I consider a colleague and a friend.
I know I don't live in this district anymore, so your permitting me to speak here tonight is a privilege and an honor, and I thank all of you for letting me do that. It's a tough act to follow, following Barbara Bauer, and so I'm not really going to try. I'm just going to sort of add on to what she said and give my own personal perspective of who Hank Richman is, what he means to me, and what he means to the Jericho community, and why I think, and I can't be here March 6th, which is why I chose to come tonight, which is why I think that renaming a school in his honor is appropriate. In his history here, and it is a history, and I use that word for a particular reason. When I thought about submitting an email or a letter in support, a petition came up on my social media page opposed to this honor. And that petition said that Mr. Grishman has been handsomely paid for all the outstanding work that he has done here. And that's a fact. A fact. What it doesn't say in that petition is that since at least a 2% cap was enacted more than 10 years ago, Mr. Grishman has never once taken a raise in this district. What the petition said was, it's too soon. Don't honor him now. Wait 5 years. Let history be a judge. Well, I submit that the last 33 years of Hank Grishman working in this school district is the only history that any of us need to know this is appropriate. I want to thank the folks who stood up here on behalf of Pupil Personnel Services. There was a time in this state, in this county, and even in this district where special ed students were pushed aside, where special ed students were kept alone and away from the Main Street student population. And here in Jericho, under the leadership of Hank Grishman, we changed that stronger, harder, and better than any district in New York State. We were the first district to have co-teaching classes. We were the first district to mainstream all of our students to the best of our abilities and let everyone have an opportunity to be part of the Jericho dream, the Jericho vision, and graduate with a Jericho high school diploma. And tragically, a high school student died in the parking lot of Jericho School District. And the Board of Ed was sent into the worst nightmare that they could imagine at the time, a student dying right here on campus. Mr. Grishman and the Board of Education made the hard decision to close the campus, to keep students here. But they did that by talking to students, by making students part of the discussion, part of the solution. And he held this school district together in its darkest hour. That's history. When the horrible tragedy of Parkland happened, students all over Long Island held rallies. They protested. You know, students in this end of Long Island, a lot of them go to camp, and so there was a lot of relationships between Jericho students and Parkland students and Half Hollow Hill students and Roslyn students. But all those other districts tried to stop their students from protesting. They suspended students when they walked out of school in protest against gun violence. Mr. Grishman, as superintendent, led his entire staff and this Board of Education I was proud to be on. And we held hands with our students outside this school, and we prayed and we protested together. That is leadership and that is history, and we don't need to wait 5 years. This school has embraced diversity. It has embraced a change in our population under Mr. Grishman's leadership like no other school district in the state. And yet, our academic excellence, our social skills, The quality of student that we send to universities has never once wavered. We are the top school district in New York State, and there should be no question about it. And finally, and I know I'm taking time, but when our neighbor's school, and if there's a rival maybe in school districts, I think we'd all agree, maybe it was Roslyn for a very long time. And when the Roslyn School District suffered a tremendous financial scandal, almost bringing that school to its knees, the Jericho School District under Henry Grishman, time and time again, delivered a perfect internal and external audit showing that our books were open to anybody to see. They were meticulous and they were perfect. And that's history. And that's leadership. Nobody's perfect. None of us are. If you want, this is not a Hall of Fame vote. You know, you wait 5 years in the Hall of Fame, you see how many Super Bowls Patrick Mahomes wins, or Tom Brady, or how many All-Star games somebody plays, or batting titles. You know, this is not something that's going to be judged 5 years from now. You know, maybe 5 years from now, the entire school district population turns over, and nobody remembers my brilliant friend, the leader that we've all loved and respect. And that's why you don't wait. You don't wait to elect somebody to the Hall of Fame when you already know that they're the GOAT. And I'll tell you this, listen, Hank and I are friends, but we have banged heads. We did not always agree. We yelled at each other, we cursed at each other, never in public, but you know, we went at it pretty hard, and never more, probably, than sometime in late January 2020. It was 24 hours between our special visit from our Chinese exchange students coming to Jericho. And our kids, they look forward to our Chinese exchange students, our Italian exchange students, our Spain exchange students. This is a really big deal in the district. And I called Hank from my office and I said, are these kids still coming? Because there's this virus everybody's talking about. And he says to me on the phone, not you too, Bill. And he literally hung up on me. And I called him back, I said, can you just think about what I'm saying? It's such a fluid situation. And he kept, I could see him shaking his head, Pharaoh, no. And 3 hours later, he called me back and said, can we have an emergency Board of Education meeting? And that's the kind of superintendent that he is. He disagreed with me on my first call, but he didn't take what I said lightly. And he made phone calls. And he didn't just call other friends or other superintendents. He called leaders of the medical community in Nassau County, Suffolk County, the CDC, the state, and made a determination that was maybe unpopular at first, but it was the right thing for our community as a whole. And that's the kind of superintendent that he's been. That's the kind of superintendent that we needed during Corona, during the shutdown. That is the kind of superintendent we needed when the school received a legitimate bomb threat. And I know some of you do remember that, and it was scary as hell. And Hank had the Board of Ed and his entire staff, and was on the phone with teachers and curriculum associates and administrators and parents and PTA and SEPTA, and everybody was a participant in the conversation of how do we move forward in this unknown time. And it wasn't perfect. And I know, Sam and I have debated that through the years, how is it the best way, what was the best way to teach kids during COVID? Nobody knew, nobody was prepared for that. But Hank led. And again, it wasn't perfect, but I would submit that it was better here than anywhere else. And finally, looking at what makes a leader great, you look at the people who work with him. I never say for him. I'm a business owner, and all of my staff works with me, and I know Hank feels that same way too. But the longevity of the people that are here in this room right now, the longevity of the teaching staff that we have, the maintenance staff. If you go to employee, what do we call that night? Staff appreciation. How many people work here? 20, 25, 30, 35 years. You don't work somewhere unless you love it, and you don't love it unless you have a great leader. So I think history has already spoken. I think that when this board finally has the opportunity to vote on renaming the school, the history has spoken. The answer should be clear. Caniac will still be on Caniac Road. Nobody will be offended by that. But the name of my friend, who has done so much for this district in 33 years, will be something that people remember forever. And now's the time to do it. Thank you.
Good evening, how are you? Be careful. We could give you a hand there.
Testing. Okay. Good evening, everyone. The reason why I'm here is because I've been trying to reach the superintendent for a while, and I just haven't been able to, so I'm coming here to do it. Mr. Grishman, I feel like you've been unfair to me, as I've tried to go to the main office almost daily to meet with you to seek your help for school-related issues I've been having lately. But you haven't taken the time to meet with me as if I'm not important to you. I feel you are not considerate of me in the slightest, in my opinion. I hope you take time soon to meet me, as every time I've come to meet you, you've never been available. All the times I've tried, I've felt left in the dust with disappointment. I hope you will take this letter into consideration. I feel like I'm not being provided what I've repeatedly asked for. I need you as the superintendent to step up and do your job as the superintendent, as you've been for many years. You should make, I feel like you should make students like myself. I feel like you failed to do so for the better in Jericho after you soon retire. Thank you, JP.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Anybody else like to speak? Deb, please.
Good evening, everybody, Board of Ed Trustees, Mr. Frischman, and the candidate. My name is Deb Lee, resident of Jericho. I'm here tonight to congratulate Hank on his retirement and wishing him many new adventures after June 30th. Here's my plea to the board for renaming Cantiac School or any school building to Hank's name. He deserves to be a permanent fixture in our school district. They can change it after the next soup serves his 130th year. We moved to Jericho 2006, and when my son started kindergarten at Seaman. We only have one child, and he's our everything, and so is every child in the parent. We so appreciate the support and care I received from his teachers and staff at Seaman that I started volunteering at our school PTA. It was my way of giving back. My first encounters with Hank was at Seaman's PTA meeting. He was at every meeting with Mrs. Bauer. He was always approachable and looking to interact with parents, and I was always sitting in the back of the cafeteria watching everything. When my son was in second grade, I was invited to join an advisory group on culture and diversity. That's when I started working with Mary Marks, the PR director then, and Hank. Then I realized all the care and support I received from Seaman trickled down from Hank. He's a fierce leader with a lot of respect and trust for his staff. Later, through my various involvement with PTA and CAJ, my respect for Hank grew exponentially. He's my mentor and a dear friend. Finally, when I became a board trustee, that I realized what an immensely heavy position he is in, even though we make it look very easy. He strives to build and create an inviting and welcoming community for our students and families. It takes a village to raise a child, and this is our village, and he's our chief for the last 30 years. When my son was diagnosed with cancer in 2023, this community that Hank fostered came out for us and pulled me and my family through the darkest days. There are many goods in our school and community, and Hank is a big part of it. Please consider renaming any school building in Hank's name to honor him, so he's always a part of us here. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening, Board of Ed, Jericho administration, teachers, staff, and residents. My name is Pam Wasserman. I'm a lifelong resident of Jericho. I myself graduated from this incredible school district, and I'm proud that my 2 children also graduated from Jericho. My daughter in the class of 2019, and my son in the class of 2023. I proudly served on PTA leadership for a decade, and served on the Jericho Board of Education for 5 years, with my term ending in June 22. During those years, I worked very closely with the board and administration. I was fortunate to get to know Hank very well. To work alongside him was a privilege in every sense. I am in full support to rename the Kaniak Elementary School to the Henry Grishman Elementary School. I can think of no better way to honor Hank Grishman, an exceptional superintendent and human being. This recognition he deserves fully and wholeheartedly. Under Hank Grishman's leadership of 30 years, the Jericho School District has thrived. His stellar leadership has been recognized at local, regional, and national levels. His record is exemplary, and he is the most well-respected superintendent across New York State and the country. His reputation is impeccable, and his name is synonymous with Jericho's success. To understand how adored and respected Hank is, I think back to a New York School Board Conference that we had attended as a board a few years back. The School Board Conference is a yearly conference where superintendents and board members from all over New York attend to collaborate and to learn. Hank and I were walking to get to a session, and I will never forget how he was stopped constantly, and I mean it every step of the way. Hank was approached by so many people, some he had not seen in many years, but they knew him, and they were thrilled to see him. Some were former colleagues he had worked with, others were superintendents working across the New York region. The message they all relayed to me was the same as we stood there chatting. Hank Grishman's leadership is unparalleled, and that he is the superintendent to which they truly respect, admire, and emulate. These words are truly fitting and capture the essence of Hank Grishman over time and throughout his career. Hank has led this district through the most trying of times. He has led the way during times of joy and celebration, but also in times of tragedy, fear, and loss. I served on the board during multiple times in those crises, such as the COVID pandemic, which was unprecedented. Hank led the way with dedication, compassion, and care for every single student, staff, and faculty. He worked tirelessly to make sure that all students were taken care of in every regard, physically, academically, socially, and emotionally. Hank Grishman cares deeply about the social, emotional well-being of the students. He has been committed to the support of all mental health programs, always making sure our most vulnerable are supported. The breadth and depth of Hank's leadership goes far and wide. The students have always been his #1 priority. Throughout his tenure here, his focus has always been to foster and enrich every student in every possible way, including the advancement and growth of academic programs, support of outreach for mental health, and many other opportunities for learning. Hank is not only adored by students and families, he is also very well respected by his staff. His excellence in leadership extends to the way he works with others, with mutual respect, appreciation, and compassion. His team-focused approach and the way he supports his staff are something everyone can learn from. He understands that success for each student depends on multiple factors, including working cooperatively with his staff. He also is and has been extremely supportive of the surrounding parent community throughout his tenure in this district. He is well known for his desire to listen, consider, and collaborate with parents in the education of students. The impact of this is tremendous, and he has helped to foster the excellence of Jericho. Hank Grishman is a leader that has worked tirelessly to build up this district, to nurture and support it, and he has done so with love for this community. Jericho is embedded into his being. This district is what it is today because of the 30-year dedication to lead us. To name a building after Hank affords this generation and those after the opportunity to get to know and learn about this extraordinary person, a leader who supports excellence, leads by example with warmth and dedication. It is fitting to rename Cantiac to the Henry Grishman Elementary School, as he is someone who embodies the traits of an extraordinary leader. In his 30-year career with Jericho, Hank Grishman displays qualities of integrity, adaptability, and staying the course, especially in unprecedented times or crisis. He has led with courage, resilience, openness, and flexibility. He has also led with authenticity, compassion, and humility. Maya Angelou once said, "Your legacy is every life you have touched." In this case, the lives touched by Hank Grishman are endless. It would be an honor for us all in the present and for the future for your name, your legacy, Mr. Grishman, to be represented by renaming of Cantiac.
Good evening, Mr. Grishman, Central Administration, and Board of Ed members. I am Marnie Rubin, and this is Allison Edelman. We are speaking tonight as current Jericho residents for the past 20 years on behalf of the agenda item renaming Cantiac Elementary School to honor Mr. Grishman. Cantiac has always held a special place in our hearts, as that is where we attended elementary school many years ago. So it is with great pride that we support the proposal to honor a person that has dedicated 30 years to making Jericho schools a better place for our children and the community. Hank Grishman's stewardship put Jericho on the map as not only one of the best districts in New York State, but also one of the top districts in the country, according to Niche.com and U.S. News and World Report. Regardless of your politics or persuasion, you cannot deny the impact Mr. Grishman has had over his long tenure. In fact, this is among the top reasons many of us here tonight decided to move to this area and enroll our children in Jericho schools. We are speaking tonight to express our immense gratitude for Mr. Grishman's extraordinary leadership and unwavering dedication to Jericho. Throughout his tenure here, he has proven his loyalty and commitment to the students, educators, and entire community. Under Mr. Grishman's guidance, our school has championed innovative educational programs, become a leader in research initiatives, and managed the budget in a cost-effective way to secure resources which have enriched our school and the entire community. His compassion for all people he encounters and his ability to foster inclusion and excellence for all will have a lasting legacy in Jericho.
As executive members of the PTA in multiple schools for the past 20 years, we can honestly say there is no one more helpful and appreciative of the work that we do as parents and volunteers in the school. He's always there to listen to our ideas, help foster our initiatives, and offer suggestions and guidance. We're so grateful for his unwavering support. Safety for our kids has always remained his #1 priority in every decision that he makes. All of us in the PTSA do what we do because of the relationship that we have with Mr. Grishman. He makes it easy. The PTSA has given back greatly to each of the 5 schools in our community, and we would not be able to do that without having Mr. Grishman's support at the top all of these years. Mr. Grishman has also fostered a workplace environment of collaboration. Teachers enjoy sharing ideas and the ability to support one another. When he added curriculum associates, he made each department an even playing field for all subjects. Parents and students wanted consistency across subjects. We wanted a multitude of AP classes. We wanted flexibility for our students and choices. He built the school from the bottom to the top, hiring educators and staff that shared a common goal, success for our students. given the immense impact he has had on all of us. We fully and wholeheartedly support renaming Cantiac School to the Henry Grishman Cantiac Elementary School in his honor. No one has worked harder, proven themselves more, or deserves this recognition more than our superintendent of the past 30 years. Thank you.
I remember when you were both in elementary school.
Hi, my name is Jamie DeBellis, and I'm a resident of Jericho. Sitting in this room where my daughters once went to school is really a overwhelming emotional experience. I haven't been here in years. One of my daughters is now in high school, and the other is off in college. But being here tonight, I'm reminded of the foundation that this school has built for so many of our children. And I listened to the students speak earlier tonight, and I was struck by the words that they used to describe their experience here. Safe, loved, motivated, imaginative, positive, smart, included, and proud. They spoke with joy about their teachers and their friends and the school community. They really just love being here. I think we need to pause and listen to the children because they're telling us exactly what Jericho School District is. We all moved here, and apparently some of us never left here because of the excellence of this school district. And that excellence was built by Mr. Grishman. We should recognize and honor that. And I hope that our board will rename Cantiac in his honor. Thank you.
Good evening, Board of Education members, community members. My name is Shavar Khan. I have been a proud member of the Cantiac family for 14 years. As a parent of 3 kids who call this building their home, past PTA president, as well as a longtime friend to everybody in the building, trust me when I say I don't take this decision to rename the school lightly. Our school district has long been a beacon of excellence, both in the state and across the nation. Of course, a lot of us associate that with academic excellence, but let us not forget that Jericho stands for many values: integrity, compassion, empathy, inclusion, doing what's right. And to me, those values could not be more reaffirmed than by renaming the school in honor of Mr. Grishman. It is under Mr. Grishman's guidance and leadership that we are where we are today, that we are the success story that we are today. Under his leadership, our schools have thrived, our students have thrived, our reputation has soared, and as many of you have already said, in the face of challenges, COVID just being one of them. This isn't just about renaming a building, though. It's telling a story of a legacy of leadership for the betterment of others. Cantiac has long had a tradition of honoring its bucket fillers. To me, Mr. Grishman, you have filled countless buckets over your 30-year career here, and I can't think of a more befitting tribute than to recognize you by renaming the school.
Would anybody else? Mr. Checkman? Good evening.
Ira Checkman here. You live in the district? I do. I'd just like to start with 2 quick stories. When Barbara Bauer was interviewed to be the principal at Cantiac, I sat on the interviewing committee. And there were 3 principals being considered. And I ripped up the 3 resumes of the candidates. And I said to each of them, again, obviously they weren't all 3 in the room together, but one at a time. I asked them, they were all 3 sitting principals, one from Hicksville, one from Call Place, and Mrs. Bauer from Seaford. And I asked them all, how many first names of the kids in your elementary school that you're the principal of do you know? And one principal said, I know every kid's name in the school. And the second principal said, I know every kid's name in the school. And Barbara Bauer said, it's only the first week of October I could tell you for sure that I know the second graders through the sixth graders. Probably I would bet on myself for the first graders, but I'll need another 2 or 3 weeks to know all the kindergartners. That was enough for me. And again, the rest is history. What's interesting about tonight's speakers is we talked about crisis. Each of the speakers spoke about crisis. Nobody mentioned 9/11. Nobody. And I'll just say, district-wide, for those on the teaching staff that are still here, those on the administrative staff that were still here, no kid went home that day without a teacher on the bus. Gina, I don't need help on this, thanks. No kid went home without with a teacher on every bus. And if the house was empty because parents were at work, the kid came back to school until we found the proper family member. The teachers, the administrators, the 5 board members, we spent the entire day till about 7, 8 o'clock making sure everybody got home safe. That was crisis. But we're here talking about renaming a building. And in my opinion, nobody gets a building named after them for doing his or her job, even if it was for a 30-year period. And in case you're wondering, I'm not here tonight to debate Mr. Grishman's job performance. I'm not an educator, I am just a dumb lawyer. I will tell you that I do have some perspective on this topic though, and some disagreements with some of the things that were said tonight. I sat on the Board of Education in this community, right here, where the vote extending Mr. Grishman's contract was an uninspiring 3-2 vote. And for the record, I voted in favor of the extension. And depending upon who you rely upon most, James Thurber or Yogi Berra, you can look that up. The really sad thing about that vote is that in the end, the superintendent's contract was extended, but he ended up trashing the board member who saved his career here. And that wasn't me. What I'm most importantly here for is the relatively simple proposition that no one gets a building named after him for doing their job for 30 years. If such was the case, Lois Smith, our beloved Director of Guidance who worked miracles here for college admissions, way before Naviance, for more than 40 years, she would have had a building. Hank's secretary, Rita Dolce, has worked here for more than 40 years. No building. 2 beloved teachers in this building, Lynn Kane, Ronnie Horowitz, taught our kids for more than 40 years. Nick Maraventano, Jim Waska, Jim Whalen, Fred Grasso, and others taught and coached our kids here for more than 30 years. And guess what? No building. Ben Chufo, who guided the personnel here for more than 30 years. No building. Again, I'm not here to debate Mr. Grishman's job performance. Suffice it to say that he has been paid handsomely. Suffice it to say that when he retires on June 30th, he will have earned his salary, he will have earned his pension, and even the huge payment bank of sick days and vacation days that he'll get paid for. And for history's sake, let it be known that he was lucky enough to win a trophy at my 40th surprise birthday bowling party. On another note, I'm not really amused by the total orchestration of this process. The cheerleading, the advocacy taking place by just a few chosen community members who have the most privileged access to him in this district every day. And why rename the Caniac School? Our PTA council president and her siblings grew up here. None of their kids came to school at Caniac. Matt Letcher, the amazingly young, exuberant, future public office holder, was summoned here by, guess who? 2 weeks ago to profess his favor of renaming the Caniac School, a school he did not attend. The immediately former board president, who remarkably rose up to voraciously support not just the renaming of the Caniac School, but demanding that the Caniac name be whitewashed and abandoned, sent her own children to another one of our fantastic elementary schools. Yet, all the speakers, quick to throw the Caniac School name right under the bus. Not surprisingly, I received questions about this renaming issue today, when a number of my Jericho friends forwarded me correspondence they received from the immediately former board president earlier today, asking them, and I quote, "Do me a favor, send an email today to Board of Ed saying something to the effect of, I fully support renaming Caniac Elementary School for Hank Grisham." There is a contingent of people trying to oppose it. So we need to get as many emails to the Board of Ed as possible. Thank you. Close quote. I asked the board to bury this building renaming issue and come up with an appropriate honor for Mr. Grisham's time here. In the meantime, you have a lot more important obligations ahead of you. The hiring of a new superintendent, the hiring of an athletic director, the hiring of a high school principal, and formulating a budget. And by the way, have we settled on a dress code and cell phone policy yet? Thank you.
Being that Ira talked about a little history, I will uncharacteristically make a few comments about history. Ira was the strongest supporter from the Board of Ed to my superintendency. At one point, he recommended that the board put in my contract an encouragement for me to stay and add my salary $20,000 a year for each year I stayed while he was on the board. He was my biggest and strongest supporter until I would not fire a staff member that he requested. And at that point,
That is
I would-
total
at-
bullshit, make up story. I will provide emails on that, Hank.
At that point,
That is
at
just
that-
bullshit.
let me finish what,
Checkla, please, we can't have profanity here.
at that point, Mr. Checkla has tried to unseat me, turn the board against me, spoken against me for the last 20 years, from one view to another, based upon one event.
Mr. Checkla, I'd like no further on this.
I'm gonna have one more word.
Mr.
I'm
Checkla.
gonna have one more word. One more word. I'm gonna have one more word.
My change of heart with respect to Hank came at a time when 3 administrators were up for tenure. 3 administrators, none of which seemed to be deserving of tenure. I spoke to Hank about it privately, and he said, we can't fire or let go 3 administrators at the same time. It will look bad for me. And I said, you? We have 3,000 students here.
All right. I believe Mr. Manuel has a few email notifications that he wants to read.
First one's from Lisa Davis. Dear Board of Education Trustees, it was so heartwarming to see all 5 board members stand to honor Hank Grishman after the proposal to change the name of Caniac Elementary School to Hank Grishman Elementary School at the January meeting. As a community member and parent of Jericho schools for over 20 years, I wholeheartedly support this name change. There is no one more deserving of this honor. Thank you to all our board members for acknowledging the tremendous contribution to Mr. Grishman has made to our district. Wishing him well in his upcoming retirement. Next is hopeful as well. My name is Amanda, and I graduated from Jericho High School in 2018. I was recently informed that there's a petition against renaming Caniac Elementary School to be named after Mr. Grishman, and wanted to express my support for the renaming. It would be a disservice not to express the profound impact that Mr. Grishman has had on Jericho, on the community, and on me. I moved to Jericho in 2005 and began my kindergarten year at what is now Jeffrey Ratner Robert Seaman Elementary School. I remember my very first interaction with Mr. Grishman was in the 2nd grade when my sister Dana and I were playing a piano duet during a concert, and Mr. Winnick whispered to me that he was here. I peeked out into the audience, saw his towering presence in the front row, and my palms started sweating profusely. But my sister and I went out, played our song, and the first thing I saw after we took our bows was his smiling face as he applauded. Afterwards, he told my parents how amazing we were, receiving a compliment from the superintendent, who bothered to pay attention to 2 little girls' duet amidst all the functions he attends, meant more to me than he could know. This theme recurred over and over again when I was on student council in 5th grade and had a speech at the Board of Ed meeting, nervous that I tripped over my words at Diversity Day in 8th grade, emceeing in the auditorium, singing the Star Spangled Banner and Noteworthy. Mr. Grishman was and is always there, smiling, applauding, and supporting. Throughout his career, Mr. Grishman has made a tireless, consistent effort to know the students and families that enter Jericho, welcoming everyone with open arms no matter their background. He has given so much to us without complaint and without any evidence of the countless hours he has dedicated to attending events, sitting down with parents, leading meetings, and so much more behind the scenes that I couldn't even begin or know to list. Whether it was my brother Brandon playing basketball on the Jammin' Jayhawks, or our family going to JAA picnic, even as long-graduated Jericho alumni, it is because of Mr. Grishman that we have come to love Jericho so much. He doesn't do it for the accolades or the recognition. He is one of the most genuine, caring, and kind public servants I have ever encountered in my education. I have never seen him without his gentle spirit, kind eyes, and approachable demeanor. Tears are brought to my eyes as I reflect on the immeasurable impact that growing up with Mr. Grishman as my superintendent has had on my life. While I'm sure his successor will be great, I feel so sad for the future Jericho families that will not experience the same connection, love, and welcoming that my family did. I would not be where I am today had Mr. Grishman not helped to instill in me the success of believing in myself, the confidence that I am capable of doing anything I set my mind to, and the compassion that every leader should exhibit. To me, it is a no-brainer that Caniac should be renamed. It is but a small token of appreciation for our forever indebtedness to Mr. Grishman for everything he has done for us. Congratulations in your retirement, Mr. Grishman. I wish you endless joy and adventures ahead. Amanda Luong. The next letter is from Robin Merblestein. I am writing to express my strong support for renaming Caniac Elementary School in honor of our soon-to-be retired Superintendent, Hank Grishman. Mr. Grishman's 30-year tenure in Jericho, alongside his distinguished career as an educator for over 50 years, deserves not only to be celebrated, but also to be remembered for generations to come. As a proud member of the Jericho community, I was excited to hear the recent proposal to rename Caniac Elementary School in his honor. This would be a remarkable way to recognize the impact that Mr. Grishman has had in shaping Jericho as a leader in education and to ensure that his legacy is cherished for many years. I sincerely hope you will approve this proposal, allowing Jericho to express his deep gratitude to this trailblazing leader for the lasting contributions he has made to our community. The next one is Grace Hugh, Jericho High School class of 2017. My name is Grace Hugh, and I am an alumni of the incredible Jericho Public School System. From George A. Jackson Elementary School to Jericho Middle School, and finally graduating from Jericho High School in 2017. My time at Jericho propelled me to heights I could never even imagine for myself. From representing our school at international science fairs to being selected as a 2017 U.S. Presidential Scholar. Today, I'm a 4-year bioengineering PhD candidate in the joint UC Berkeley-UCSF graduate program. And I hope to give back to my communities through biomedical health innovations. I look back very fondly at my time in Jericho, where the teachers were unbelievably supportive and immense opportunity for everyone to grow together. Over the years, I have kept in touch with some amazing teachers: Mary Dreyer, Dr. Serena McCullough, Karen Engelhardt Heller, Joshua Smith, Nadine Palumbo, Constantine Kavaris, Rose Scalera, Sharu Varden, Mark Burkowski, Mary Bolton, and the list goes on. It takes a village to support each and every student, and at the head of the ship has been Superintendent Hank Grishman, who has tied the community together. I am very fortunate to have interacted with Hank during my time as a student at Jericho. Even then, I recognize how thoughtful of a leader he is. He supported our wonderful team of teachers, who in turn have supported us students, and the resources provided at Jericho are second to none. I remember his grand smile and empathy for all, and his 30 years of service to Jericho will impact generations to come. I recently heard that the Joint Council of PTA and JEF has proposed renaming Kaniak Elementary School to honor Hank's dedication to Jericho, and I stand in support of the idea. Of course, the word Kaniak has strong Native American ties, so I hope that the cultural origin can be preserved still, perhaps by means of hyphenation or addendum to the chosen school name. Ultimately, I am extraordinarily grateful for my meaningful time at Jericho and extend my sincere thanks and congratulations to Hank Grishman for his legendary career. Please feel free to email me back with any questions. The next one is from Tony Meliambro, resident and former Board of Education trustee here at Jericho. I am a Jericho resident who is pleased to hear that you are discussing renaming the Kaniak Elementary School after Hank Grishman. My children both attended the school where I was active as a PTA officer. I went on to serve as a school board trustee for 7 years and proudly handed both my daughters their high school diplomas upon their graduation. For the past 15 years, I have worked in another school district where I recently retired as an assistant superintendent for business and human resources. My collegial relationships in this capacity exposed me to the workings of many school districts and enhanced my perspective on what successful leadership looks like. I have seen firsthand through my years of service as a board trustee and as assistant superintendent that everything in a school organization starts at the top. Many times I have seen school buildings undergo personality changes when the principal changes. At the top of the Jericho School District has been Mr. Grishman for 30 years, during which the district has progressed, excelled, and remained on the cutting edge of educational programs and opportunities. The faculty and students have always had an abundance of resources to promote success for every student under Mr. Grishman's leadership. Our board meetings were always well attended by all stakeholder groups, including parents, union leaders, neighborhood civic associations, athletic associations, administrators, and often student representatives. There were many challenging questions and concerns presented to Mr. Grishman by these groups, but the most important factor to these discussions was that no one was afraid to speak out and voice their opinions. The Jericho community has never been shy, but this is how issues get resolved in positive ways, and the district has continued to advance and thrive all these years. Believe me, this doesn't happen in every district. The Kaniak School is dear to my heart, and it was a very happy place for my children and the many other families we shared friendships with. I remember overhearing a few girls on a play date in 2nd or 3rd grade discussing their favorite authors, and I was amazed by the energy of their conversation, realizing that these children were taught how to love learning at a young age. Special memories from Kaniak include a time capsule created by students in 5th grade class to place tokens of their interests and activities at the time to be opened upon graduation from high school. Also, a letter written in 2nd grade to your 8th grade self, which was mailed by the classroom teacher to the students upon middle school graduation. Many outstanding teachers and administrators have contributed to Jericho's success story, as well as supportive community members and highly motivated students. All were encouraged to perform at their highest levels in a safe and secure environment under the leadership of Mr. Grishman. I encourage you to agree to rename the very happy place Kaniak Elementary School after Mr. Grishman in recognition of the unparalleled success that Jericho School District has achieved during his 30 years of leadership. The next is from Joan Rosenberg. I would like to take the opportunity to support the renaming of the Kaniak Elementary School in honor of Henry Grishman. For 30 years, I have worked with Hank in a variety of roles as a parent, union leader, school administrator, and retiree. During that time, he has been nothing but supportive of new initiatives, which have furthered the stellar reputation of the Jericho School District nationally and internationally. As a superintendent, Hank's guidance and foresight have allowed the district to create educational trends and be the envy of many districts. Hank is indefatigable when it comes to attending school and community events. In fact, I think I've actually found Hank someone who supports the blue and gold as much as I do. To a person, he is respected for his commitment to the education and well-being of the Jericho students, staff, and community. He has been an admirable leader, a mentor, and a friend to so many of us. As a graduate, former resident, employee, and parent of children who attended the Caniac School, I wholeheartedly support renaming it after Henry Grishman. It would be an everlasting honor to a man who has dedicated so much of himself to the Jericho community. And for those of you that know Joan, she would probably be crying at this point. The next is from Sean Gladstone, also a former Board of Education trustee. We see our schools, the people, the activities and interactions within these halls from our own individual perspective. Whether from the viewpoint of a student or parent, teacher, a taxpayer, board member, or bus driver, each of us experience our role with the school community from a meaningful but very limited viewpoint. As a student, do we really understand the experience of a taxpayer? As a parent, do we really understand the experience of a teacher? Maybe we do, but when we need to fight for an issue or have a need we'd like to see met, we usually, and understandable, come from the point of view of our individual role. I played a few of these roles myself within this community: parent, SEPTA president, PTA council president, board member, and taxpayer. And in that time, this community came up against some challenging and sometimes very emotional issues. With the benefit of hindsight, I can say without hesitation that Hank Grishman has always done what is best for this community, and he has done it with integrity, wisdom, and compassion. Hank Grishman has uniquely and consistently considered each and every decision regarding our schools with the perspective of each and every constituent in his mind, and more importantly, in his heart. He has had the singular responsibility of managing a multi-million-dollar budget, multiple buildings and facilities, hundreds of staff and administrators, thousands of students of varying ages, needs and abilities, and the expectations of thousands of parents and the community members. It has been Hank Grishman's unfailing ability to see things from each perspective, and more importantly, as a whole, that has brought out the best in us year after year after year. If we believe, good or bad, that the buck stops at the top, then we have been extremely fortunate to have Hank's leadership for all these years. We each play a role within the district, and we do it well, but our individual role or perspective didn't make us a top school district over and over again. It was Hank who brought us all together to make something amazing, and we should be very thankful. To name a school in his honor would be a nice start. Next one is from Maria Bombays. I am writing to express my strong support of renaming Caniac Elementary School after Superintendent Hank Grishman. As someone who has worked closely with Hank in my role as Joint PTA Council President, I can personally attest to the profound and lasting impact he has had on our district, our schools, and most importantly, our children. Hank Grishman is not just an administrator, he is the heart of our school community. He leads with a rare combination of wisdom, humility, and an unwavering commitment to the well-being of every student. He is the kind of leader who makes you feel heard, valued, and empowered, no matter your role in the school system. Hank has a way of making people feel at ease, giving them the confidence to step up and make a difference. I specifically remember during lockdown in 2020, Hank led us through that extremely scary period of great uncertainty with confidence and always knew exactly what to say to keep us all Jericho strong. His leadership has never been about personal recognition, it has always been about the students. Whether advocating for resources, ensuring a safe and inclusive learning environment, or simply taking the time to listen to a concerned parent, Hank has led with selflessness and sincerity. He has made it his mission to know our students as individuals, understanding their needs, celebrating their successes, and supporting them through challenges. Renaming an elementary school in his honor is not just a tribute to his remarkable career, it is a reflection of the values he instilled in all of us. Elementary school is where a child's educational journey begins, where they first learn what it means to be part of a community, and where they are shaped by the care and dedication of those around him. There is no more fitting legacy for Hank than to have a school that embodies his lifelong commitment to education, leadership, and kindness bear his name. I urge you to approve the renaming of Caniac Elementary School to honor Hank Grishman. It is a small but meaningful way to honor a man whose impact will be felt for generations to come. Thank you for your time and consideration. Next is from Mark and Margaret Aaron. Dear Board of Education members, we are sorry we are not there tonight to read this in person. We fully support renaming Caniac Elementary School in honor of Hank Grishman. My wife and I have lived in Jericho our entire lives and raised our son here. We have had the pleasure of knowing Hank for over 20 of his 30-year career in this district. His commitment to the students, staff, and community has made this one of the most sought-after districts in the country. Renaming a school in his honor would be a fitting tribute to recognize his years of service and dedication to Jericho. Next is from Alan and Mary Marks. Dear members of the Board of Education, as you contemplate the renaming of Caniac School to honor Mr. Henry Grishman, we have certain long-term observations, and we think you should consider that might impact your decision if you are truly being objective about this decision. In the early 90s, one of our children started kindergarten at Caniac. Their teacher shared with us during our first parent-teacher conference that she was very concerned about our child's gross and fine motor skills. She suggested we have them tested. We were impressed and thankful for her astute observations, honesty, professionalism, and caring. We proceeded to have testing completed. The results of the testing by a neuropsychologist determined that our child had other health impairments, including dyspraxia, sensor integration dysfunction, etc. When we brought the testing results to the principal at that time, he scheduled a meeting with us. At that meeting, he proceeded to tell us that everyone gets their child tested because they all want extra services. We were flabbergasted. Our response to him, are you really serious telling us that we're happy that our child is being diagnosed with these disabilities because we want extra services? We were absolutely disgusted by his behavior. We had heard Jericho didn't have special education, and now we knew why. Mr. Grishman assumed the Jericho superintendency in 1995. Over time, we saw the dramatic difference in the attitude, supports, and acceptance of students with special needs. Under his leadership, a new K-12 special education model was developed with great success. The second observation we had as parents occurred after that child was in middle school. The sixth grade teacher team shared with us that sixth grade was merely a review year because the gaps in the education of elementary students was wide and varied because there was no consistent instructional oversight, especially across the elementary schools. In order to address this deficiency, Mr. Grishman initiated the hiring of curriculum associates to provide oversight by curriculum area to ensure that all students were receiving the same quality and level of education, instruction, and support services across the district. Comprehensive professional development quickly became a constant in an effort to implement best practices and make it available for all students. After watching our eldest child go through elementary school and then seeing our youngest child go through 10 years later, the instructional enhancements were obvious. The same sixth grade teachers who were still there 10 years later shared that students were starting middle school consistently prepared so they could actually concentrate on new instructional materials instead of providing student review and catch-up. Seeing the improvements from the time of our two older children and then our youngest were crystal clear. Mr. Grishman implemented a program in 2007 to increase the participation of new community members, many who did not speak English. He secured grants to provide ESL classes for parents, created a multicultural district committee to learn from parents where they needed support, and encouraged Diversity Day celebrations to foster an understanding of many different backgrounds. The program was so successful that it was featured on the front page of the New York Times in 2008. Under Mr. Grishman's leadership, crises were always prioritized immediately, whether the events of September 11th or the death of a student or staff member. The crisis team worked in coordination to address and support students, parents, and staff. For the skeptics, many who have not been here in our school community for very long, we are sure they moved to Jericho because of the outstanding educational programs and opportunities. Jericho's outstanding reputation is built on the efforts and leadership of Mr. Grishman. Jericho was certainly not the #1 school district in the years prior to his arrival. Our observations are only a few of Mr. Grishman's many accomplishments. We 100% support honoring someone who has given his all to the students, parents, and staff of Jericho for 30 years. Next one is from Tom Taubes. I'm writing to extend my heartfelt congratulations on your upcoming retirement from the Jericho School District. Your outstanding leadership and success over the decades as superintendent of the Jericho School District is unprecedented. Your dedication, vision, and unwavering commitment to excellence have profoundly impacted our students, educators, and the entire community. Under your guidance, the Jericho School District has thrived and become the standard for school districts on Long Island, New York State, and the nation. Your passion for education and ability to inspire both students and staff are truly commendable. It is evident that your hard work and leadership have created an environment where students are empowered to learn, grow, and excel. As former president of the Jericho Athletic Association, I would like to express my sincere gratitude for your support to our programs and community events. Anytime the JAA needed support, you were there for us. Plus, we could always count on you and the administration to attend our community events. Your support did not go unnoticed, and I deeply appreciate the positive impact you made on the JAA. Congratulations once again on your retirement. I am in full support of naming Candy Egg or any of our school buildings in honor of you. That's from the Taubes family. Last one, from Tammy Balco. I am ready to express my fanatical support for renaming Cantiac Elementary School in honor of Henry Hank Grishman, who has dedicated 25 years of outstanding service as the superintendent of our district. His unwavering commitment, leadership, and genuine care for students, parents, faculty, and the entire community have left a lasting impact that deserves to be recognized. Mr. Grishman has always been more than just a superintendent. He has been a visible and engaged leader, present at school events, athletic games, meetings, and most importantly, available to parents to address concerns with respect, understanding, and thoughtful action. His open-door approach fostered trust and collaboration, strengthening our district and ensuring that every voice was heard. His leadership was especially evident during unprecedented challenges such as the COVID-19 pandemic. Along with his dedicated team, Mr. Grishman navigated an extremely difficult period with resilience and foresight and a commitment to keeping our schools safe while ensuring that education remained a top priority. His efforts to guide our district through uncertainty exemplify his dedication to students and staff alike. Furthermore, under his leadership, our school district has constantly ranked among the top in the nation. His vision and contributions have elevated the quality of education in our community, making our schools a source of pride for all of us. Honoring his legacy by renaming Cantiac Elementary School as Henry Grishman Elementary School would be a fitting tribute to his years of service, leadership, and commitment to excellence. I urge the Board of Education and the community to support this proposal. Mr. Grishman's name and legacy deserve to be permanently recognized, ensuring that future generations understand the impact of his work and the foundation of success he helped build. Thank you.
Thank you. This is
Mr. President, point of privilege, please. I believe that there were some accusations, I would think, somewhat negative reputation-wise made about a board member, and I think that board member should have the opportunity to respond. So, Mrs. Citron, I heard someone say that you were soliciting emails to be sent to the Board of Education about this topic. I would think that you would want to respond to that and say whether or not that was true or false.
If it were false, I would say it was false. It is not false, it is true, and I'm proud of that. I think that this is something that's well-deserved, and I was soliciting public opinion because I know the board wants public opinion. I didn't ask anyone to do something that they didn't want to do. I asked people to send a letter, and I'm proud of doing that because we want to hear from the community. And I know people who are supportive of this proposition, and I wanted them to voice their opinion. So
But just to clarify, absolutely, I
I know, and I understand that I did nothing wrong, and I'm happy with what I did, and I encourage anyone who's watching this, if you are interested in giving your opinion to the board, please send us an email to boe@jerichoschools.org.
Mrs. Citron, that was not the statement that the speaker said. He said that you solicited emails for people to write in support of the proposition. Not saying that you asked people to write in about the idea, but that you explicitly said, based on what he read, well, Mrs. Citron, it's not enough. I'm asking a question. If you don't want to answer
I told you what I said, enough, okay?
So what Mr. Chuck said was correct.
I sent those letters, the text, to people that I know support Hank. I don't know who shared it with you, and you shared it with Ira. It doesn't matter. I know that those are people that I know are supportive of Hank.
Okay, now you will apologize to me for making an accusation about me. I had nothing to do with it.
I'm not going to send an email to you knowing that you're against this. So I sent it to people who I know are supportive of it.
Can we not continue this conversation in this
I
forum?
tried to stop the conversation, but Sam's badgering.
I think we've established what was said. and let's just leave it at that at this point.
But Dr. Fresso, again, a point of personal privilege, a privilege. It was also
Sam,
said,
the president has said you don't have the floor anymore, so the conversation is over.
I don't think we need to continue.
Mrs. Citron, I can ask for personal, for a vote of privilege. If he wants to deny it, that's fine. I'm not sure why you're yelling at me. I can hear you just fine. And so, obviously, there's something, I'm simply saying, I'm curious if it's true or not, what was said. Because I find it,
I thought Jill responded to your question.
she did, there was a second point to that.
What is the second question?
The second question was that Mrs. Citron solicited a speaker at last month's meeting when this was first proposed. No, it's not you. This is a question for Mrs. Citron. If she doesn't want to answer it, that's fine. But that was what was said. And in my mind, that struck me as a little negative, that she somehow had, I don't remember the word that the speaker said, but staged the thing. Was it true that she solicited someone to show up and speak at last month's meeting about this idea?
And I'm sure you probably told people if they didn't want to do it, then
All right, well, this is going down a path that I really don't, we have business to tend to. Moving on, there's just one more thing I'd like to touch upon. I appreciate everybody coming up tonight, speaking in support of this, in opposition, if that was your opinion. I just want to make one point of clarification. It did come up in the public comments regarding a petition opposing this. There is a petition that the board is aware of, and I'll speak for myself, that I am aware of. It was sent out by a group called Jericho Voice. Despite my best efforts, I have no idea who Jericho Voice is. They've gone to great lengths to conceal their identity. I don't even know if it's an individual or a group. All their information is redacted under a veil of anonymity. That being said, it lists me as the decision maker. I think everybody in this room knows that that's inaccurate. I wield no more influence than anybody else on this board. I've been unable to vet any of the names on here. I recognize several, but I believe many of them are from outside the district. I don't believe Mickey Mouse lives in Jericho. So I will underscore, if you'd like to communicate with the board, please do so via bona fide means. I'm happy to give the district office my cell phone number. If people want to call me, they have it. I'm happy to share it with anybody. I'm sure other board members are happy to discuss things with people. The BOE email address, again, is a great way to communicate with us. You can send us snail mail, but again, I think it's really important that we know who we're speaking with, that you are in fact district residents, because I do believe that district residents should have a say in this process. I respect that, but unfortunately those who live outside the district and have no ties to the district, at least in my opinion, don't really have much to say about this. So let's move on to unfinished business. Adoption of board policy number 7316, student use of personal technology. Recommended motion, be it resolved that the Board of Education adopts the following policy. Policy 7316, student use of personal technology. Do I have a motion? Motion from Jen, do I have a second? Divya? Well, I believe we'll start with the second reading, February 2025, and then we have option B.
So how are we addressing it? We do it like last month?
Well, we can, I believe it was going to be, both at once, correct?
That's all.
All right, so we have Jen, we have Divya, and we're to discussion.
Again, from central office, I'd like to comment.
For point of order, I think it's a board discussion, and I think after that, I think the superintendent
Can
can comment on it.
I make a recommendation now, Sam?
If the president wants you to, absolutely.
Feel free.
Thank you, Mr. President. I like Sam's revision to policy 7316, and I'd like to work from Sam's revision. However, I would like to recommend from myself and from central office a couple of changes to the policy revision that Sam drafted. I would like to add in the first, second, third paragraph. During instructional time, students are only permitted to use mobile devices, high school cafeteria, high school library, middle school cafeteria, and only during lunch periods, the middle school library. I'd like to add hallways into the policy there. As I continue in that, however, teachers may on occasion and at professional discretion permit students to use their mobile devices in class and in hallways for educational purposes, period. I would like to, I think for expediency and common sense, I would like to scratch or recommend scratching, provided the teacher has notified their curriculum associate and building head in writing at least 1 week prior. I think that is an unnecessary.
It's one day, not 1 week, 1 day, 24 hours.
I think that that is an unnecessary addition. I would like to also recommend, we had talked about piloting in the middle school in grade 6, the use only of Chromebooks. In Sam's recommendation, he's looking at moving the entire middle school in grades 6, 7, and 8 to use Chromebooks, district devices only, and cell phones being banned. I think the recommendation, again, at this point, to take away a privilege that next year's 7th and 8th graders will have, I don't think makes a lot of sense. I think what does make sense is starting with 6th grade as a pilot. If that pilot works, move that 6th grade to 7th grade and 7th grade to 8th grade. This way we're not taking something away from our kids that are currently students in the middle school. But otherwise, I think we're in support of the rest of the writing of that policy.
Sam, did you have?
Yeah. As the superintendent knows, you know, the policy as I put forward, and let's be clear, they're really talking about 3 changes. 1, using cell phones in hallways. 2, teachers having to notify their curriculum associate and building head 1 day, not 1 week, 1 day in advance of using cell phones in class. And 3, 7th and 8th graders using district-only devices. Let me say that from my conversations, middle school teachers are wholly in favor of students using district-issued devices. I fully understand the superintendent's point about taking away a privilege. This whole policy is about taking away a current privilege that students have. So whether you're drawing the distinction between using a Chromebook or using their cell phone, we are removing a current privilege that students have. 2, in the middle school, Chromebooks, from my understanding, despite their technological deficiencies that we have heard people talk about, are more than adequate for what students are doing in class. Remember, students can use whatever devices they want outside of the classroom. This only refers to them using school-issued Chromebooks in the classroom. It allows the middle school teachers to use GoGuardian to make sure that students are focused on their assignments, that students are not using their computers, or in this case their Chromebooks, to use outside or non-educational sources, which, based on my conversations with teachers, is a much bigger issue in the middle school than it is in the high school. Third of all, hallways. I fully understand what the superintendent's saying. I'm not quite sure of the motivation for it, because let me tell you a couple of points why I see it. 1, I believe every piece of research shows that these phones are addictive. If you tell someone that they can't use something for 40 minutes, but that in 40 minutes they're going to be able to use it for 5 minutes while they're moving class, the last 10 minutes of class will be lost to these teachers, because every student will be jonesing for the time when they're going to get to use their cell phone for the 5 minutes in between class. So in terms of taking away the focus, in terms of taking away the concentration and improving the education process, making them available in hallways is counterproductive. Second, safety. All anyone needs to do is what I did last week. I was picking up one of my children at the high school entrance.
You stand there and there are 5 glass doors if you've ever been there, 4 or 5, 6 glass doors. You can see as the students are walking down that hallway, at least 50% of them have their heads down in their phone, not looking where they're going, a little bit of bumper cars. It is only a matter of time before someone is seriously hurt, their device is broken, or anything like that. If you're only giving them that 5 minutes to use it, then you can be rest assured that every single student will be walking around the hallway, head down, eyes on their phone, not looking where they're going. Again, they have 5 minutes, I believe it is, and Mr. Cummings and Mr. Gleason, you can correct me, to make it through class, to make it from one class to the next. This is not a smart policy, smart choice for student safety, for student concentration, or for the enforcement of this policy. At our last meeting, I believe someone had talked about how it was hard for teachers to supervise that. It is really not, it is actually the easiest place to supervise phone use. There are cameras throughout all the hallways. There are administrators in the hallways during class turnovers. This will be very easy to administer. So I recognize what the superintendent's saying. I'm sorry, on the 1 day prior, this is actually, from speaking to certain teachers, a benefit. You know that students are gonna go in there, my kids will do it, I'm sure your kids will do it. Can I use my phone? Give me my phone, give me my phone, if they don't have it for some reason. That will be what students will be doing during class. Excuse me, it's a slow day today, can we use our phones, can we take out our phones? You know, there are teachers who are strong-willed, there are teachers who maintain 100% control of their classroom at all times. They will very, very easily say no. There are other teachers, for whatever reason, that will allow students to use their phones. And again, we're still waiting. I believe the question was asked last week. What is this sudden emergency that a teacher needs to use their phone or have their students use their phone during class? If they need to notify their curriculum associate or building head, it will be a thought-out educational reason. And there will not be a single person who's deciding, yes, I'm going to let my kids use their phone, because I guarantee you there will be teachers who will say, this isn't worth it, I'm just going to let them use their phones. So, Mr. Superintendent, I appreciate you moving over to at least work off of the draft I prepared, but the 3 changes I think are extremely negative to implementation. Certainly the hallways and the notice. I can take your point on the devices, and if we want to do this as a even slower rollout, and just do 6th grade, I guess I would have to live with that. But I really believe hallways and notification are vital to the effectiveness of being able to implement and supervise this policy.
Sam, let me comment on hallways. 2 things. I think in discussing it correctly with the administrators, the notion of being able to supervise no phones in the hallways when there are literally 2,000 kids in the hallways during class pass is physically impossible to do. Number 2, I will tell you from the time that I spend in talking to the administrators that we spend in the hallways, the vast majority of kids are talking during class pass. They're not on their cell phones. You raised the issue of bumping into each other's, dropping, breaking cell phones. That has not been a prior issue in the high school or the middle school. So again, from my perspective, and I think the administrator's perspective, the hallways is not as significant an issue as you point out.
I just had a few comments, actually. One was with regards to the providing notification to the curriculum associate and building head in at least advance of 1 day. That doesn't really allow for change of lesson plan or trying to engage a particular student in a particular way if they can think of an app that might be helpful for them. So I don't know that that's really practical, Sam, in trying to reach every student. And I think there needs to be some flexibility in that. To Hank, I wanted to just get your opinion on why you would want to do this. I appreciate rolling it out as a pilot, but my understanding is that between 6th and 7th grade, in 7th grade, there's the vast majority of kids are not taking high school level classes. So how would having flexibility in what device children use at that level be any significantly different than a 6th grader?
Probably not significantly different. But again, I think where my rationale is coming from, if we're gonna start an initiative, I think it makes more sense to roll it out over time. I've spoken to some of my colleagues in bordering districts, and they are considering similar rollouts as they are looking at restricting cell phones, primarily cell phones, but they're looking at some form of progressive rollout, which again, I think on behalf of our kids, I think that makes the most sense. But again, to your point, is seventh grade a significant an issue? Is eighth grade? I would say obviously not.
Got it. The next comment is more of just a question, maybe for Ms. Clemente. Is the following paragraph with regards to physical health needs only, continuous, oh, she didn't. Okay. Or any of the educators in this room, I don't know that, the statement is continuous exemptions to this policy can be granted by building principals in consultation with the building nurse for physical health needs only. I don't know why I'm just tripping up on this physical health needs only part of it, but I don't know if it should be expanded to have like mental and physical health needs only.
Special needs. I mean, I think we want to be inclusive.
Yeah, all inclusive.
And make sure that any child, physical, Sam.
I'm listening to you. I'm allowed to shake my head. I understand what you're saying. Because this then opens up to the slippery slope of you get into extremely subjective areas. If you wanted to carve out small class environments, that's very definable. If you wanted to carve out something very specific, the problem becomes if you have 10% of your class on their cell phone, the other 90%, it creates a problem in implementation. Because now, hold on, because now if a kid has special needs and he's able to take out his phone, wait, I now know that kid is a special needs kid. Aren't we supposed to keep that information confidential? So how do you work that into a policy where I say, oh, Dr. Foresto has his phone out. Oh, well, Dr. Foresto could use it because he's got a medical exemption. And so I'm not sure how that becomes verified.
I understand what you're saying. And listen, I'm all about coming to consensus on this tonight because I'd like to bring it over the finish line. I do believe if a kid needs some specific device as some sort of an accommodation, we are going to honor that with fidelity 150% of the time. I don't know how we qualify that, and there's probably people in this room who are better suited to help make that determination. So I do believe we should probably leave.
That's fine, but I've spoken to the battle. From a physical standpoint, everybody brings up glucose monitors or things like that. I've spoken to other districts where they have this, and they haven't had the issue with non-physical.
Can I say something?
Of course.
What about the child who maybe has severe social anxiety or selective mutism and cannot communicate without the aid of a device? And this is their way of submitting assignments or communicating with their teacher. That's not technically a physical health.
Are they in our general classroom?
Sure, absolutely, absolutely.
Do they have IEPs or 504s? Would that?
And that's just one example. I'm by no means an expert on this. I'm just saying that this should be a little bit more inclusive. That's all.
How about this? I mean, listen, I think we all want to see this get done. If there was ever a situation where we thought that this was being abused, we could tighten it up. I don't think you're going to see that.
I would agree with that, except for the fact, and again, as I pointed out, this policy is generally what's already in effect. It is supposedly in effect in our school, and it has been abused 110% for the last however many years.
It just hasn't been enforced.
Well, okay, yeah, but that's the abuse part. And here's the thing, and I will tell you this, and I would love to hear from Dr. Hartnett, you know, what the teachers' view on this is, because I know there are many teachers, we heard this, 80% of the teachers want cell phones banned from classrooms. That's just a fact. So again,
if we're supporting our teachers the best way, then we should make this as strong as possible. And to Dr. Balachandra's point, or as Mrs. Varnhoff's point now, if we need to loosen this up, we can loosen it up. The problem is the more loopholes you create, the more people go through it. And I understand exactly what you're saying. I fully get it. And I don't believe, from my conversations, that 99% of our students do not require cell phones for whatever issues they might have. Okay, maybe it's 98%. But I do believe if the more loopholes you bring, you're gonna have 10%, 20% of our students, and then you have a policy that falls apart because teachers don't know who even has that dispensation.
So why don't we just say
Why don't we
this?
just say health needs only, rather than physical, just health needs only.
And we have exemptions. Who can provide the exemption?
But Chromebooks have all the apps. They have all the apps.
Yeah, but Ira, there are certain devices that are tailored to students who have needs that a Chromebook are not gonna meet. I mean, I've seen.
I think you need to consult with the teachers. I don't know.
No, I understand, but I think.
Chromebooks have all the apps to submit, to give, you know.
We talked about this last month. We said, let's get something in place. Obviously, we're gonna need to fine tune this. And we will do so quickly if need be. I never want to find ourselves in a position where a kid is denied something because of 5 people up here who don't understand what's happening in the classroom. So what I would like to see at the building level, that the principals or APs have the ability to provide an exemption if there's a emergent need to do so. If for some reason this policy conflicts with what's in the best interest of the student.
Okay, for a second, just, the general approach from the teachers has been the middle school Chromebooks seem to be functional as just having a school device. The issues came up much more prominently.
That's in a gen ed classroom though?
In any, the feeling was from 6 to 8, having just school issue devices was functional as far as what the teachers felt. Beyond that is where there were much more issues at the high school.
And all we were talking about in the draft in the agenda was the high school. It was the superintendent who was proposing giving
Personal devices back to the 7th and 8th graders, which it sounds like you're saying that it really isn't an impediment to the students and the teachers would prefer it.
Yes, from a teacher point of view, surveying the teachers in the middle school, they are stronger to having those devices, the school issue devices. In the high school, there's much more schism.
I'm all about the teachers, and so the teachers have said 6th, 7th, and 8th, they don't want, I don't know why that's funny.
Here, by the way.
Do
you need a need for anything else? Or
yeah, no, the other part was, wait, Dr. Hartnett, is there something, because you had brought this up, I think I've heard, what would be this emergency reason that a teacher might say spontaneously on a regular basis that they suddenly thought of something in their lesson plan that they need to use a cell phone? Like, is that sort of saying, yeah, there's a 1 in a million chance? Because my understanding is most teachers don't even use cell phones for their lessons. To say that they couldn't plan it out on 1 day's notice. 1 day's notice is all I'm asking for.
Why, Sam? Why?
Okay, I thought I said it earlier. There are teachers, whether they're substitutes, it might be a substitute teacher that comes in there and the kids are like, okay, substitute teacher, can we use our phones? So-and-so always lets us use our phones. Okay, take out your phones. Or it's a teacher who is untenured, they're nervous about getting tenure for the year, and they don't want to aggravate any of the students because the parents are going to call up. Can we take out our phones? Yes, we can take out our phones. Or it's a teacher who's just not a great teacher. Just not a great teacher, and you can make the face about it, but there are teachers that are like that. I'm not saying we have a lot of them, but I'm saying this takes the pressure off the teacher. Why does the teacher want that pressure that the kids are sitting there? Can we use our phones today? It's the day before Christmas break. Can we use our phones today? Why would the teacher want that? And finally, the only way for us to know how much teachers need cell phones in their classroom is by doing this. If we suddenly get, or if Mr. Cummings or Mr. Gleason suddenly get 30 requests a week from teachers saying, I need the cell phones in the class, then we can go back and look at that. Absent that, we're working with no data. This is actually a way to collect data by saying 1 day prior, tell us. If teachers are handing in notices all the time, then you're absolutely right. We should go back and readdress that. How else are we supposed to get any data? We're flying blind.
Mike, Do you think for our weak teachers, this is something we need to put in place, Mike?
Though, look, when we looked at I think the cell phone policy is a good one, plain and simply. I think it's a functional one. One of the reasons why I didn't raise that as objection of that approach had to do more than anything else with the fact that we do have administrators who generally understand if there's a teachable moment. I don't see that there's going to be a Spanish Inquisition about it if such a thing happened. So that's why we were okay with the idea that, for the most part, teacher planning would have letting an administrator know in advance. It's just an email. It doesn't sound like a big deal. If there is a general consensus from the board saying yes, in the case that Ms. Balachanda pointed out, that there may be an extraordinary case. I was assuming that's how a board functions anyway, when extraordinary cases happen.
So if proposals aren't needed.
But if it's in policy, Mike, it's in policy.
Yes, I understand that, and look, there's been, like I said, overall, I think, as from a teacher's point of view, we're happy with it. And we also would take simultaneously, we understand that administration, one of the things I said to Mr. Perlman repeatedly, is that there's many stakeholders in this. And the administration is always left holding the bag when it comes to how to take care of everything. I said my piece. Do you have any other questions?
Just to be clear, you're saying the teachers are fine with the policy as written with regards to notification and with regards to 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I'm not saying that that's going to be accepted, but I'm saying from a teacher standpoint, they're okay with that. So to Dr. Balachandra's
point, much more the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. That's something that I have data for, where the idea of giving notification is one of those things that we understand, but we also would hope that administration would understand on the other part if there is a teachable moment or there's a need from a student that suddenly arises.
And you know what, I'm having a teachable moment, I'm not sure how we define that, but the fact of the matter is, I also like the idea that we're able to collect data, because look, everybody's saying, let the kids, they need their phones. If, as I said, teachers are using these on a continuous basis, then we have the ability to go back and look at this. Otherwise, we have absolutely no data to adjust this way. So to me, let's actually get some information that someone in our administration can analyze.
Again, just looking to take this over the finish line. If it's notification only and it doesn't require approval, if a teacher is using it in a classroom environment for something educational, do we have to put that one day? Can we just say you need to just notify administration that you're doing this? If we're just looking to collect data?
I don't think we're just looking to collect data, that's the whole thing.
That's what you said, you wanted to.
No, I said that's one of the benefits of it. The second part is, and this is the part, I don't think the teacher's gonna go and say, oh wait, there's a teachable moment, let me go send a notification to this. Then there are so many steps here that makes it more complicated. What I don't understand is if the teachers are okay with this, and the teachers actually, I would say there are some teachers that like the idea, why would we not do it? That's what I'm struggling with. Here, this isn't affecting the students at all now. This is a teacher issue.
I don't have an issue with it.
No, that's what I'm saying. So we try, again, we're trying this out. I believe this policy will change over time. I think by definition, it's going to have to change over time. And so the last point I'll just go back to, I honestly don't understand the hallways. I expect every student will be on their phones during that 5 minutes. I expect every student will be late to class. And
Sam, Matt, thought. Why don't we pass it tonight with these markups, and we'll put it on the agenda for discussion next month, and I'd like some feedback as to how it's going.
So what are we doing in the markup? What's in, what's out?
I don't know what you mean by feedback.
When do you want to start? What's the timeline on this? Oh, we put it in for next year? I mean, it's...
I think the cell phones, we should try it at the beginning of the fourth quarter.
Why wait?
Personal devices, I don't think is something we can do until next year.
Dr. Balachandra, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
So suspend personal devices till next year. Why are we waiting on the cell phones?
Can someone please remind us when the fourth quarter begins? Bueller? Anyone? Anyone? Fourth quarter, when's it begin?
How about when we come back from break? I don't understand why we would need to wait on cell phones alone.
Well, first of all, we have to have a second reading of the policy. Unless this can call it, I don't know, this is like a huge change of what that policy was. I don't know if Mr. Goodstat's gonna be happy with this being a second reading. And you know, I'm all about procedure.
Are you okay with it?
You can also waive.
I don't wanna waive, because
I'm not waiving, I'm just saying in general sense, you did this on first, you could have waived.
oh, I know, but I think it's bad procedure.
I know I don't have the mic, but you had a first reading, and it's all right.
I don't think these are substantial changes.
Then can I make a suggestion? If we're gonna try, can we just try the hallways? Just see what happens, because as I said, from the research, what you will see is that students are going to be looking for their phones, and I've drawn the conclusion, they're gonna look like heroin addicts 10 minutes away from their fix, and they're gonna be bouncing up and down, waiting to check their phone that they've heard
The
beeping.
hallways, though, Sam, I don't have an issue with the hallways. I think enforcement is going to be next to impossible because these hallways at class change look like, you know, the Belmont Stakes in June. You can't move. So, yeah, is a kid going to, you know, peek at his phone? Probably. What are we going to do about it?
Again, perfect is not, perfect enforcement should not be the enemy of good. What I'm saying is 90% of our kids, they're going to abide by the rules. And as I said, if a kid's walking down the hallway and falls down the stairs, going back to Mr. Chekla's example from a month or two ago, we're going to feel pretty stupid. And as you know, we're letting kids use it in the cafeteria, we're letting students use it in the library. It's not as if that we're banning this. And there are schools, as you know, that say from beginning of the day to the end of the day, there's no cell phones. They're going to sneak off to the bathroom if they have to check.
Mr. Cummings wants to say something.
I have a feeling I may be slightly involved in this process.
Just a bit.
With 2,000 students in high school, you know, a little over 1,300 students in the hallways, monitoring that many students at the same time may be unmanageable. What about the possibility of putting the policy in, not in the classroom, not during the time, monitor the hallways, see if it's an issue?
That's all I'm asking. We try this stuff out. If we have to change it, we change it. But
without banning the hallways.
no, banning it. But so what do we change? When you say is it going to be a problem, what problem are you looking for?
Monitoring.
If it's not banned, how's it going to be monitored?
Sam, you would suggest
Ban from the classroom. Ban from the classroom.
And Sam, your hypothesis was if it's banned in the classroom,
The hallway is going to be.
the hallway usage is going to go way up. Right now, hallway usage is not a significant problem.
It hasn't been, I haven't seen it to be that.
As I said, I've got one anecdotal example from last week, and I'd say 50% of the kids had their heads in their phone.
I see it a little differently. I'm not always
Like I said, that's fine.
How about a compromise? How about a compromise in initially putting the policy in place, going through 6, 7, and 8, ban of cell phone as well as only using school devices in 6, 7, 8. Leave the hallway alone while we evaluate the hallway. And again, I still would recommend that we take away the notification as a compromise.
Well, why don't we, but there's really no compromise. 6, 7, and 8, we're not doing till the fall anyway. You've gotten the hallways, and so now you want to take away the notification. So I'm not sure on the compromise. If you want to go hallways, let's go hallways, and you're absolutely right. Let's collect data. Let's do the notification and see if teachers want to use it, and then let them use it in the hallways, and we'll see how many kids get hurt. There we go.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, so what? It's not an issue now.
The one issue, and you guys did discuss it, and just because again, you do need to start this in the policy, is when is this starting?
So the cell phones, correct me if I'm wrong,
Fourth quarter.
the fourth quarter starts what date? Do we have a firm date on that?
It was April 4th, hold on a second, I just had it out. April 4th is the last day of the third quarter, so April 7th would be the first day of the fourth quarter.
And when do all the high schoolers basically disappear for APs and regions and stuff like that? Like
1 month later.
1 month, so we're gonna have 1 month of data for the high school, and we'll have 3 months of data for Mr. Gleason and his middle schoolers?
The APs are almost, is a 2-week window.
Yeah, but doesn't the high school end at like, what's the last day of school for the high school?
June, pretty late.
I feel like the high school kids are home for the whole month of June.
No. Last day of regular class is June 16th.
Oh, okay, so we'll get 2.5 months of data. I'm happy to do it when we come back from break. I think that would be great, but if you want to do it for the fourth quarter, I'm good with that too.
I think it makes some sense to give the kids some time to talk about it and get prepared for it, so it's not happening tomorrow.
Do they need methadone to get prepared for it? What does that mean?
We'll give them some methadone.
Okay.
So why don't we,
Can I ask a question before we move forward? Steve, how would we write a policy that some aspects of it we're going to implement at one point in time and other aspects at another point in time?
So for what's effective April 7th, 2025, X, and then effective at the start of the 2025-2026 school year, Y. Right? So you just have to use effective date for each provision.
And would you recommend just putting that at the end of this policy?
No, so with regards to the specific portions of the policy, and again, I'm having difficulty just based on which is what and what's happening, which is.
Just say after class, I'll
Right, with this, no, my point being, so at the end of this, so what's gonna happen is there's a ministerial thing that's going to occur at the beginning of the next school year. All those effectives are gonna drop off, but for now, you need to keep them in there so you can.
just until those dates hit. Okay, so do we have consensus on this?
Last question, please.
Do we actually have, and this was in the existing policy, the student use of personal technology permission form? Do we have one of those? And has any student ever signed it? It's in the penultimate paragraph of the adjusted policy. And do we have students been signing it?
I'm not sure if we check with Patrick, but I know that we have some mechanism.
Okay, so maybe if we could do that between now and the start of the fourth quarter, we get every student to sign that.
Can we vote on this? So we're voting on the cell phone ban in classrooms, not including hallways, effective date, April.
Mr. Kelly?
Cafeteria, what about not, is the class?
Cafeteria in the library, I believe, we're still.
High school, high school cafeteria and high school library, high school lunch and library all day. High school cafeteria and high school library at all times.
They're allowed to use them.
They're allowed to use their phones. Middle school library, only during middle school lunch. Middle school cafeteria at any time. Cafe 126 will be considered cafeteria. Because I was told by the teachers that many middle schoolers leave the cafeteria during their lunch period to go to the library to do work because they want the quiet. And so if that's really the case, then the middle schoolers who are leaving the cafeteria during lunch to go to the library to do work should have the opportunity to use their personal devices at that time.
Okay, I think we're good. So we have the effective date, classrooms, verboten, hallways okay, libraries and cafeterias, as Sam specified.
The word physical.
Hallways are okay.
So then you're adding hallways.
Then you're adding hallways, we're not excluding hallways.
Dr. Palatano, how do you feel about hallways?
Good, Steve? And we're good.
Sam, you know how I feel about cell phones in general. But I think
Share.
it's fine. But I think it's fine.
Let's just do it, we got it. We got the momentum.
I think it's a good start.
It's a good policy.
I think this is a good start.
We can always add hallways if it turns out to be an issue.
I would like the Sam Perlman hallway in honor of this great policy.
It's the same for
Got a couple of facilities I can name for you. Anyway,
I got a bathroom in there.
anyway, all right, so we have that, and then the devices is gonna be a wholesale restriction, 6, 7, 8, starting next school year to district issued devices. Correct? All right, all in favor?
Hallelujah.
Unanimous.
No restrictions for parents.
All right, thank you, I'm glad we got this done. All right, moving along. Authorization to execute MOA, Jericho Educational Administrators Association, recommended motion. Be it resolved that the Board of Education authorizes the Superintendent of Schools to execute a memorandum of agreement by and between the Jericho Union Free School District and the Jericho Educational Administrators Association as shown in the attached. Do I have a motion?
Why don't you do them both together?
Do one after, that's fine. Will be quick. Second? Discussion?
Congratulations to all of our great administrators.
Congratulations. All in favor?
Oh, wait, hold on.
Hold on, I do believe, I know it's late, I think we should just give a 5-second overview of what the contract is. Just read what it is for 2 seconds. It's a 5-year contract, I'll let you, Mr.
No,
President.
it's okay. I don't have.
5-year contract, salary increases of 2% for each of those 5 years. Changes a little bit of the steps, but I think the key part is the 2% a year.
Thank you. And all in favor? Unanimously carried, thank you. Moving on, authorization to execute MOA Jericho Curriculum Associates Association. Recommended motion be it resolved that the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent of schools to execute a memorandum of agreement by and between the Jericho Union Free School District and the Jericho Educational Administrators Association as shown in the attached.
Is that not the one we just did?
No, this is the second one.
Oh, okay.
This is Curriculum Associates who did administrators.
I know you just said administrators. Don't worry about it, it's okay.
Oh, you know something? I did because it was.
It's fine, it's fine.
Curriculum
Everybody
Associates.
makes mistakes, it's okay.
No, it's actually wrong on the agenda.
Ms. Stokel.
It's all. We all know. So we have a motion on this. Jen, second, Sam, discussion.
Again, summary, it's a 5-year contract, 2% a year, starting retroactively from July 1st, 2024, which is the same as what the administrators are. They've been working very generously without a contract for the last 6 months, 7 months.
Thank you. All in favor? Unanimously carried. Thank you. Number 3, we've removed from the agenda. We don't have all the information on that. Number 4, authorization for the President of the Board of Education to execute employment agreement. Recommended motion be it resolved that the Board of Education authorizes the Board President to execute an employment agreement by and between the Jericho Union Free School District and the following individual. John Gordon. There it is. As everybody knows, John, really do appreciate everything you do for Jericho schools and keeping us safe, and more importantly, keeping our children safe and our staff. So thank you, John. Do I have a motion on John's contract? Second. Sam, discussion.
As long as you keep cleaning that area outside, John.
All in favor? Unanimously carried. Congratulations, John. Thank you. All right, and to wrap up this fine evening, approval of schedules. Schedules A, 14976 through U, 375. Do I have a motion? Jen, second. Vivian. Discussion. All in favor? And what? Unanimously carried. Do I have a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Have a great night, everybody. Wishing. Have a great PS, I Love You Day, Valentine's Day, February break.